Okay, guys, good morning. Welcome back. We are going to learn a very important topic today. Of course, everything is important, but there's nothing that you can say was not important. But we are kind of trying to get more complex now. So last week you did functions with me, right? Just a way of grouping code, giving it a name, working with parameters and so on. Right, so I did talk about call by value and call by reference very roughly, saying that values are copied into the function when you call a function. So you should know how to write a function, of course, how to invoke a function, what are parameters, does a function need parameters, doesn't it need parameters, and so on. Last week, if you remember, we were working on that guessing game, and I had some problems relating to how to make variables and how to pass them. So I had completed that program, and it was posted on Blackboard last week itself. So I had to revert to global variables, though I don't like working with global variables. The aim should be that functions should be independent, right? So if I give you a job, write a function that takes two inputs, this and does this, and results this, that's all you should be concerned. That's it. That's how functions are written, right? You know how to use the input function. Nobody asked you. Somebody wrote a generalized input function, similarly with print, similarly with string, and so on. So you can be specific as to, oh, this is what she needs, so we'll write it this way. This is what he needs, we'll write it this way. But when we were reading two numbers from the user and we wanted to do it over and over again, there were a few options that were available. And the easiest at that time, and that worked actually, I had to work on it a little. There were more issues in just making it local and passing it. So I made that global. But of course, the other function that I wrote was completely taking inputs and outputs. So I'm waiting to give you a third assignment because I haven't marked the second one. So I don't want to pile it on. So I'll combine functions and what we do today to kind of make it a bigger program. I don't have to give you small programs, though I like to give you small programs. That way you do something small, you learn and you do it. But it becomes too much marking for me. And I can't keep up to it. Right? And I don't want to kind of just take it on from you and then you're waiting for your results. So I'm hoping that by this weekend I'll return your second assignment, but maybe today what I would like to do is during your break time, if you can devote maybe 2 minutes each, you can run that program of guessing game for me so that I don't have to run it to see that, oh, it works. Right? So that saves me maybe 5 minutes or so. So I can just look at code and looking at code. I'm not bad at now looking at code now because it's been a few years that I've been teaching and programming. So I can look at code and say, oh, something is wrong here or something is not wrong here. So I would, if you can do that for me during the break time, download the one that you've put on Blackboard, right? So no cheating, nothing. Whatever you've submitted on Blackboard, you just run it for me. I come and you run it for me. And then I can look at code and that way it will be a little easier, right? Because it does take me half hour or so to mark each assignment. I don't want to just mark it and not give my comments or be careless about marking. Because it is important that you get the right feedback because that's what will help you to go forward, right? Because if you don't learn your mistakes at an early stage, you'll keep repeating them. And that's what I don't want, especially when you're doing an intro course, okay? Okay, so today's agenda. So we've learned functions. I'll try again. I'll try to use functions as much as I can so you can, so from like, keep in mind what we are learning is not all learned and finished. Whatever we've learned will go on and add to what we learn every time. So if I taught you for loops and while loops and all that, and we did functions, my aim will be to incorporate all of that when I do lists today. So list is a very powerful data structure in Python. What is a data structure? It is something that can store data. So how is it different from a variable? We've stored data. We've stored a single integer, a single float, a single string in variables. We've done that. But we call data types, and this we call a structure because we can save more than one element in it. And in Python, not necessarily true in all other languages, but in Python, you can save data of different types in the same box, kind of odd. So in the same box, you can put numbers, you can put logical values, you can put strings, and you can say, here is the box, and it has everything you need. You can say, oh, it's not a bad idea. I can put a person's name, a student's name, his or her marks in assignment 1 and 2, maybe so on and so forth. So that's kind of mixing data, and that mixing of data can be put in a list, right? So a list is basically a collection of data, right? That data, at least in Python, can be of different types. So you can mix numbers and strings. And of course, you've learned the Boolean data type, true and false. Or, of course, the other thing holds. You can have only a list of numbers, only a list of strings, only a list of Boolean values, and so on. So my aim today is to introduce you to lists, and then once you kind of understand them a little, then we will do some small code with it. For example, I'll say, okay, I put the marks of my first assignment, all of my students' first mark in a list, and then I can do what? I can find what the maximum of it is, what the minimum of it is, what is the average mark of my class, and so on, right? Or I can take a list of my student names, put it in a list, and then maybe sort them, okay? Or I can find, oh, is the student with ID 1, 2, 3, 4 in my class? Or for example, I can say, oh, count how many times does the mark 5 occur. So how many students got 5 out of 10? You know what I mean? So you can do all these things. So list has many functions and methods associated with it. So you'll see the difference between functions and methods today. And if something is available, we won't do it. So if there is a sort function available, why will I write sorting again myself? Though you can. There are different sorting algorithms that are available. There is insertion sort, and heap sort, and merge sort. There are so many sorting methods. If you go and look for it, there are so many sorting methods that are available. But again, why reinvent the wheel? If somebody has already written a sort method for us, I don't care how they wrote it. All I do is use it. Similarly, you can search for something. And there are two kinds of search methods. There is a binary search and there is a sequential search. In sequential search, as the name suggests, you will search in sequence from the beginning. Are you it? Are you it? Are you it? You kind of go in sequence. So it's called a sequential search. In binary search, you kind of you divide the list into two, right? But the list has to be sorted. So 1 to 10 list is sorted, you divide it into two. So 1, 5, and then 6 to 10. You're looking for 7. Of course, it can be in the 1 to 5 list because it is greater than 5. So you look in the second list. You again chop the list into two. So it will chop at say 8. I'm just giving a rough example. Oh, 7 is less than 8, so it must be on the left hand side. So you're reducing the time of searching, and this is again called binary search. So algorithms are available. You can code it yourself if you like, but again, why would we? Because there is a way of finding out, oh, are you present in the list? You can also ask the question of a list. What is the element at the position 0? Now list starts from 0, positioning 0, and then goes up. You can find out the length of the list. How many elements in my list? So your job is to understand what a list is, and then on top of it to understand how to use functions and methods on that list, because you want to make your life easy, right? And that's all about it. That's how the library helps. That's what a library is. You don't write books or essays on your own. You always go to the library, the real library, to look for books and find out material from them. Now your books are kind of old, but you always Google and look on the internet for resources. That's the meaning. So we have a library. We should learn how to use them. But let's first learn how to create a list and how to use a list. As I said, mixing is allowed. So I'll show you a little bit of mixing, but then usually when you work with lists, you will either work with a list of numbers or you will work with a list of strings. List of logical values is hardly any, I haven't seen a lot of use, but there could be a list of logical values. These are the 3 data types that you have worked with, right? Your numbers can only be integers, your numbers can only be floats, or your numbers can be combinations of integers and floats, okay? Before I forget, I have sent out email and I don't know names, right? I'm still I really don't know names of my students because 1, I'm not trying to learn them because there's so many, and 2, I'm relatively new, though week 6 is not new, right? So I know a few, and I've learned 4 today, but it's just because the class is so big and I can't have time. Whenever you come to me or you see me, just tell me your name, and that way I'll try to remember. So if I've talked to you, you've come to my office, then I can remember names. But what I've done is I've sent out emails to 8 students yesterday, and I again don't know whether you are here in my class or not, but I've sent out emails to 8 students yesterday, and I need to see them this week, right? If I don't see them, I just want to again reiterate it you should know about it. You should be aware that cheating and plagiarism will not work in assignments. right? So if you've done anything or if I've found anything, then it's a straight 0 if it is your first attempt. It's a 0 in the course if it is your second attempt. And you're out of the college if it's your third attempt. So please don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. One, it's dishonesty. Why should you be dishonest? As a human being, it's a moral value. And two, it's not worth it. 10% marks, let them go to hell, right? Try to learn so that you can do better next time. And learning will come how? Learning will come from maybe your friends. Learning will come from resources on the web. There are so many resources. I'm learning Python from resources too. Like if I need to find something, I go and learn it. And of course, I'm there. And I have office hours 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I haven't seen a lot of people. So that means either you know it or you're not interested. But whatever the case, that's your personal, attitude, whether you want to learn or whether you don't want to learn. That's up to you. But don't cheat and don't resort to dishonest means in class. It will end up you in trouble. Nothing else, I'm telling you. And at the end of the day, all that money that you're spending to do the course, you'll have to put it back. So take it as a, it's not a warning, but it's a friendly warning that I'm giving you. It doesn't help anybody. You'll always end up in a scoop. So don't do it. Okay, so as I said, we are going to work with lists today. So I'll kind of try to introduce them. I could do it on the interactive shell if I like, but I'll do it in a program so that you see it and you have it when you want to refer back. And then I'm hoping the time will permit me to do a few small programs, snippets of programs with you when you do with list, right? And I'll also show you how to use functions on list and methods on list because that's important. You should be aware that that's what exists, okay? Okay, so we'll start. And as always, we'll have our name. So don't forget this habit. This will take you a long way of commenting your code. And it's June 12th today. And the purpose of the program is to introduce you, and it's a very, very effective tool or a very powerful tool in Python. Yeah, not tool. It's a data structure. I shouldn't be calling it tool. Tool means you can work with it, but it's basically a data structure. So the aim is to introduce you they're called lists. They have sisters or siblings also. There is something called tuple also, right? So which is kind of a list, but a little different. But we'll talk about tuple also today. And we'll also talk about something like mutable or immutable. Mutable means can be changed and immutable means cannot be changed, right? So we'll also talk about, and string, if you kind of think of a string that you've been using, it's a list. It's a list of characters, right? So if in a variable I say name is equal to Anju Chawla, what am I saving? We call it a string. But if you kind of think about it, what is it? It's just a collection of characters. ANJU blank CHAWL. So string is also a list. But because string is so popular, human beings use strings so popularly that they've created a type. You don't have to bother to create a list of it and put it in and say, oh, this is a list and these are what my name characters are. But again, decades back, there were no strings. So you had to use a list, also called an array in other languages, right? If you're familiar with other languages. So it's like an array, but a little different. It's a collection. Sure, it's a collection. It has positions. Yes, it has positions. But it is a little different in Python because you can mix types in it. So you can have numbers and strings and whatever all together. You can mix them, which is not usually true of an array in other languages, just so that you know. Okay, so introduction to the list data structure. So I'm using technical terms so that you kind of know what it is. It's a structure. So when I say structure, it can have more than one values inside it, right? So introduction to list structure, it's functions and methods. And then, of course, how to work with them. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with simple examples of lists. So what I'll do is, again, I'll kind of mix and match. but I'll also try to create only lists of numbers or only lists of names so that it makes sense, right? But otherwise, in normal, like normally, list is just a collection of data. That's what a list is. So let's take an example. And you can keep growing the list, like you can keep adding to the list. You can insert elements in the list. You can append elements in the list. All that can be done. You can slice a list. You can take out part of a list. Oh, give me elements second, third, and fourth, right? You can count the number of elements in a list. You can delete elements from a list. You can delete at a position. You can delete an element that is present. Lot of things are possible with this. It's so versatile that you can kind of say, oh, so much. And keep in mind, why are we learning lists? Because in everyday life, very quickly, single data types don't work for us, right? They don't work for us. For example, marks of my students becomes a list. Names of my students become a list. The errands that you need to do in a day becomes a list. So you could do that. You could say errand number 1 is a variable, errand number 2 is a variable, errand number 3, and you have to do 10 errands in a day, and you kind of put them in different variables. Or you create a list, put them together, call them errands, and you can work with it, right? So we do need lists in our daily life. Always understand, why are we learning this new data type? How does it help us? Do we need it in programming? The classes that you attend in a day, you could say 8 a.m. class, 11 a.m. class, and so on, and you could have different variables. Or you can create a list. You can just put them together, and they're related in some way. They're classes that you're going to attend on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. Right? So list is very useful because it's a collection, and you will need collections when you work in your daily life. So you do use them. So if you use them, that means you will write programs that will need lists. So it's basically a collection of different. So in Python, it's a collection of different data type elements, you could say. So let's take it. So I'm going to take a list. So it's kind of a mixture. So I'm just going to call it mixture, or you can call it whatever you like. So really doesn't matter. So I'm just taking a list or whatever you want to call it. What have we done? Are we using Java naming conventions in Python? I think we are, right? Not the underscore. Okay, so this is how you give it. You assign it a value like you usually do. So I'm calling it a mixed list just because I couldn't think of a better name, right? It's just a mixed list. You start with your square brackets, you end with your square brackets. Okay. Now, whatever you put inside it, it's an ordered collection. When I say ordered, element number 1, element number 2, element number 3, they're by positions, right? So if I say show me element at position 4, it's an ordered collection, right? Ordered doesn't mean, oh, it's sorted. There's difference. Order just means there is an ordering in them. So student number 1, student number 2. So if I start saying you are 1, you are 2, you are 3, there is the ordering, right? Doesn't matter who I say is 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's put something. Really doesn't matter what you want to put. I'll put my name, right? I can put something like maybe how many classes I have today. I only have one class today, right? How many office hours I have today? Maybe I have 1 office hour today, or maybe a 2 hour. How many meetings do I have today? I can kind of just go. I can even add a true, which really doesn't make a lot of sense, but like I can just make a mixed list. But one element of each, of course not. Of course not, right? I can have anything else. So maybe I can put in Kevin's name if that's okay, right? So I can say Kevin. So there's another student, right? So like it's just a mixture. Oh, I can even say, oh, he got a 9.5 out of 10 in his assignment. I have no clue. I'm just saying it, right? There, that's a list. Right now, each element of a list has a position or an index, as it is called. This is index 0. Now, human beings usually start with 1, the first element, the second element, the third element. But in programming, the indexing is from 0. So if you would like to, let's try to print a few things now, right? Let's see what's in it. Now, I'm going to show you something in print. Some of you have used it in your assignment one, though I never mentioned it in class. So I don't know whether you picked it up from each other or whether you picked it up from internet, I'm not so sure. But till now in my print statements, I've been using the concatenation operator, the plus. Now there, it's kind of irritating that you have to put a plus every time. Comma is easier to put, but keep in mind there is an advantage. The advantage of using concatenation in print is that every element of that print, whatever you concatenate, has to be a string. So in a way, if you try to put a number, but it's a number, it's an integer, and you're trying to print it, it will come up and say, oh, that's a number. So you're sure that you're using the right types, right? So it could help in some cases. That way I know, oh, I have to work, this is a number, I can do this with it. Or I input something, I forget to convert it into float, I give a print statement with a plus and I say, oh, it's being printed. How come? It's not a number, that means it is a string. So it will help you to catch errors in that print statement. But today onwards, or maybe I'll do a mixture, I'll tell you another form of print you can do, much easier. And again, many of you have used it in your assignment one. I just noticed it. Again, I don't know whether you didn't know about it or wherever you picked it. Really doesn't matter. But I'll do it today so that you see. If you just want to print the list, so you can kind of give a message. It's always good to see a message. And now you can close your quotes, and instead of a plus, you can put a comma if you like. Right? So commas are allowed. Instead of plus, commas are allowed. And comma, comma. And one more advantage that you may be happy with, you don't have to convert anything into strings. You can print a number if it is a number, and it will just print it. You don't have to say str of that number. So some people like it. On the other hand, as I said, if you want to be sure that whatever you are printing is a string, that's another way of using the plus. Okay. So I'm going to show the list. Let's see how it prints it out. And I'll close my print statement. Right. So again, you can use plus if you like, and we haven't done a lot. We haven't done what this end is, what this separator is, but I'll show you as I go on. So these are overloaded. These are reserved words in print that you can use. You can say, oh, my separator is a blank. So whatever you print will be separated by a blank. Whatever you print will be separated by a comma. End says new line. New line says whenever you print, it goes to the next line. Okay, we'll do that. It's not a big deal. Let's see what happens. Okay, so let's save this. So we are week 6 now for your information, and next week is your midterm. So keep that in mind. Okay, so what do I get in midterm? Whatever you've done till date. Right? So you'll be given a program to code. You will code that program in class. You can use your automate the boring stuff book online. You can use that. You can use whatever we do in class, and that's it. You can't browse the internet for looking up stuff. Right? You can't do that because then you're looking for solutions. If there is a Python manual, which I'm hoping there will be, if there's a Python manual that I can find, definitely there will be some documentation. I'll allow you to use the documentation. So if you want to look up something, oh, what is this function called? Or what are these string functions or whatever, I'll allow you to do it. It comes with the documentation. I hope it's installed on your local computer. If you kind of look at it, if I'm not mistaken, there it is, manuals. Now I'm not sure if they are going to the internet or if they are on your system. View the Python 3.6 documentation, but there is a documentation that's available. Let's click on it. And what does this say? Oh, this is documentation about the server. Okay, let's see where is it going. Okay, there it is. So you can take help of the documentation, right? So when you installed your Python, you should have this documentation available. So if you want to search for something, it's all here. For example, if I wanted to look for list, let's see. It says here, this is all. So you can look in built-in types. What are the built-in types? Why isn't it coming with built-in types? It's just there. So they're talking about built-in types. These are the Boolean operations. These are the comparisons. So you can take help of this. There's an int, there is a float. We haven't done complex yet, which is okay. Here are all the operators, right? The operation and the results. So I'll allow you to use the documentation. There's no big deal in documentation at all. But I won't allow you to go to the internet and look for solutions. You know what I mean? You can do that, of course. So when you do the exam, this room will be under surveillance, that if you try to go to a website which is not allowed, like Blackboard will be allowed, right? Then it's a straight 0. You know what I mean? So you just have to follow the rules. But you have your laptop, you have your notes, you have your automate the stuff book that will be allowed, and you're good to go. And you have the documentation. So you should be okay. Okay, and if you don't have the documentation installed on your laptop, double check that you have it before you come to class next week. So the exam is next week. Okay, let's go back here. Let's save this. So documents, courses, Python, Tuesday. So we are going by programs. So I'll go by programs. I can start week 6. And what I'm going to do is I'm doing lists today. So you can save it whatever way you like. I just save it so that I can remember what I did each week. Okay, let's see what it does. Nothing much. I have declared a list. I've given it a name. I've used the assignment operator, and in square brackets separated by commas, I have shown some values. I've collected some values. So it's just a collection. Let's see what happens. Let's run it. There it is. Right? So now the list occurs in square brackets itself. You may not like that format, but it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like it's just what it is. Okay, now if I have a list, can I use a loop in it to kind of print it? Let's try it. Remember, you've used the for loop with the range, right? Let's see if we can do this. Let's say for I in. Till now we've used the range. Can I say mixed list? Can I make it work on a list? It's a collection. I've put some elements in it. Can I make it work on a collection? And let's do a print. And I'll just print it on different lines, right? So I'll take what? How do I pick up each element of this mixed list? When you pick up each element of a mixed list, you put a square bracket and you give its index. I'm saying I. That's my index. Let's see. Let me write a for loop first without this so that you see what I'm trying to do. Let me show you a few things, okay? So if you want, you can simply say for I in, and you can write the list here itself. I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just for the heck of it. Like you can write the list there itself. Forgot my colon, so didn't indent. I'm going to say print I. Oh. I can put a list now. You can put any list. I've just used numbers, but you can put any list, right? Any mixture, anything. So instead of range that you've done till now, you can use this also, if you like. So I could say like anything at all. And in the second one, instead of using a list as per se, I have said mixed element, right? So here, oh, sorry. Oh yeah, this will do. So see the difference. In the first one, it will pick up the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I will take. In the second one, since I've said, I've just given a name of a list, now I want to pick up each element of the list. So I go mixed element I, and so on. And just so that you know, I want to also print for you. Just here, let me put it here. Though it will look odd, let me put it here. So I'm going to say ith element, okay? I'm going to say I, and I'm going to say the th. Just so that I can show you, oh, see how I moves, okay? Because I've said I moves from 0 to whatever in a list. So when it picks up, let's see what happens. So in the first one, I've just used a list like a data structure. Like instead of range is something like this. If you say range 5, what does it do? It goes from 0 to 4, right? So if you don't want to use a range, but you want to list, you can do that. I'm picking a 5. So I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. But again, remember, the 1 is at position 0, 2 is at position 1, and so on. It's kind of a 1 behind the scenes. Now, in the second one, I've printed out that ith element for you. I've printed out. So it will say 0th element, 1th element. It's kind of odd, but, or you can say element I. That will be better. Then I don't have to worry about grammatically being incorrect. And I'll show you something else. I didn't leave a blank. but commas also put a blank automatically. Okay, so let's see what happens. Element I, element O, and so on, right? Now, if you want a colon, then of course you will have to put a colon. I mean, you have to make it neat. Notice I'm using commas today. Let's see. I haven't put any blank after my element. I haven't put any comma. I haven't put any blank after my colon. And I've always said, please be neat so that I can read it. In pluses, we always put blanks where we need it. Let's see if comma puts an automatic blank for you. Okay, let's try. Let's run it. Oh, let's run it, F5. Oh, I have an error. Let's see what the error is. It says list indices must be integers or slices, not string. Okay, so something is not happening properly. But anyway, so the first mixed list is whatever it was giving. Then it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in different lines because that's what it is. And I see Rick's hand going up. So
I in this advanced for loop or range for loop, I thought stands for the data type variable, not the index itself.
So it doesn't have a type?
No, it is defining itself as the next argument in line. So rather than thinking of it as int I in a for loop, or think of it if you have an for each, whereas you can do array as item.
So all I have to do. So basically, all I have to do is again just show the mixed.
You do elements and then
I.
If you remove mixed list, then it will show you the element.
The element itself. Yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, let's try that. So maybe I can show the index somewhere else. So that way. So I is just picking up a value, whatever is in the list. It's not a variable that kind of goes forward. Okay. Not like in range. Okay. So thanks, Rick. So Rick says because I is picking up a value from the mixed list and it doesn't know whether it's a number or a string, and you're assuming it is an integer because I said mixed I. Mixed I means give me the ith element. I'll show it to you another way. That's why I'm getting that error. I think he's right because that's what the for loop kind of is going through the list one at a time. So what's the difference between this and this? Here I used the hard-coded list. I kind of wrote the list myself. And here I used a variable or of type list. So you can do either way. It doesn't really matter. Just a different way of doing it. So element now, like if you want to put it in different lines, this is all I need then. This is all I need. Nothing else. Right? I need this. Okay, let's try that and let's try that. And there it is. So Anju Chawla 1, 2, true, and Kevin and whatever. So it just printed it out. Okay. So which means I have to show you a different thing a different way, but that's okay. It's no big deal. Again, if you want to make your answers a little pretty, it's always a good idea to kind of just differentiate them, because it kind of becomes very difficult if you start kind of. Now, what is the difference between the first print statement that I wrote and this one? Here, the whole list came at one go. You could see them in brackets and it was one go. Sometimes that's all you need. That's all you need. You don't have to do anything else. You just want to show the user, oh, here is your list. That will work. In other cases, you may want to do some math with it. For example, in this itself, maybe I want to add these numbers, right? I want to add these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do that in a loop. So let's try that. So if all you need to see is list as a list, let's say sum. And now all you have to do is this. You have to take a variable called sum. You could have taken any variable. Let's initialize it to 0. Why? Because to begin with, the box is empty, right? And then every time I'll keep the print I so that you can see the value of I, then we can remove it. And every time you want to take the sum and you want to add to it, seen the mixed operator in Java, right? You want to add to it the value of I. right? So it will print. I mean, this printing is just to show you what it is picking up. I'll remove it afterwards. We'll comment it out. And then you show the print. And once you are done, you want to show what is the sum of the numbers. Now I can show, I mean, of course, I can show the numbers. I can always say what the number is. So again, it's not complete, but just to show you. There are always ways of doing it. Here. Let's see what happens. So the print I is just telling you it's picking up one element at a time from the list. What is sum doing? Sum starts with 0, and this is for your information. If it confuses you, oh, sorry, you're CSTN students. Oh, so sorry, not programming. This is the short form of this. My bad, sorry, there. This is a short form. When you see the variable sum on both sides of an assignment statement, you can combine the equal and the plus and make it an operand. These are called, short operands. So if there is the same variable name, I have a sum on the left-hand side of the assignment, I have sum on the right-hand side of the assignment, I can take the plus, combine with the equal, and create a operator called plus equal. So they are available, hopefully they are available in Python. I could be wrong. If I get an error, then there is no other way. I'm hoping they're available, right? But who knows? I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like. Anyway, you never know till you do it. So let's see what our answer is. Let's see if it works. So run it. So it does work. So the mixed operator does work. So now all doing, like putting some messages makes it a little easy to read output. So here are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which were in the loop. So all 5 were printed out. And then it says the sum of the numbers is 15. So at least I'm seeing the numbers, right? So never give an answer with nothing to say. Sum of which numbers is 15. So you can say the sum of the above numbers is 15. And it is 5 plus 4 is 9 plus 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. So the answer is right. So comes handy, right? You'll say, oh, I could have done that in range. Of course, you could have done that in range. Nothing stops you. But this way, instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could have taken any numbers that you like. But be careful. Don't put a character here. Don't put A, B, C or Anju or whatever here. Why? Because you can't sum them. You can't use the add operator on not numbers. So don't try to, I mean, if you're doing stuff, then be careful of what you're doing. If I kind of change this 1 to a text 1 for whatever reason, that's a logical, there's nothing wrong in that list. It's a proper list, right? I said you could combine. Let's try that. I get an error. It says, how can you add text 1 to sum? Because you're using the plus and that doesn't work. You'll say, but there's a concatenation operator. But what is my sum variable? My sum variable is a integer. So when you work, be careful that, that's what I said. Though list is a collection of elements of different type, you can restrict it to what you want. So if I wanted to find the average marks of my students, I put it in a list and then I'll just add them up, divide them by the number, and there I go. Right? Okay. So be careful about these things. Okay. So there was a way, here was a way where I took it. You'll say the sum of the above, how many numbers? You can even show that. So let me try to show you a few things now. Let me close it here and let me use a function which is called length. I think it's length without the GTH, but let's, oh, here I can do it here. I can do it here. I'll show it in the next one. Because this is a hard-coded list. So see the disadvantage, it's hard-coded. So when it is hard-coded, it doesn't have a name. But here I can. So let's try this. And you can say what the length of the list is. So the mixed list of size I'll close my brackets, put a comma. I'm in the habit of always putting blanks, but I'll show you it works. And use the length function on the mixed list. So it's gone purple. So I'm hoping that's what it is called. So with the commas, it automatically puts a blank. So you don't have to worry about it. Now it could make you lazy and you don't bother. That's one thing. But with pluses, we always have to kind of take care that the output is neat. We have to put blanks and everything ourselves. So what is this len you are seeing? What did I do? I used a function. So I'll tell you there are many. I'm hoping that this will work. It's a kind of an easy one, but I'm just using it. I see a len here, and the len says how many elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. It should say the mixed list of size 6 is, and then show me the list, right? Len has gone purple, so I'm assuming, I don't know. Who knows? It could be LENGTH, but again, just by experience, let's, mixed length is not defined. Okay, so something is not mixed, not length, sorry. Mixed list. Mixed list is the name of the list, not mixed length. So it gave me a name error. I'm saying what is not defined. So you make a error, it gives you an error. Where is it? There it is. So that's the length function. I didn't have to count it myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's available. It tells me how many elements in your list. So there are many. I'll use many. I can use append and insert and delete and so on. I can't do every one of them, but definitely, why not? And then, of course, I'll do some methods. So I kind of brought a list, but you know what? You never know what works and what doesn't work, but that's okay. You can just try. Make sense? Right? So you can work with individual lists. You can do this. Let's try to do a few more things. So just showing you. So you could have just showing you what's going on. Suppose you want to now add an element to the list. Now, this was a hard-coded list. I said Anju Chawla, 1, 2, true, Kevin, whatever. Now, usually that will not be the case. I will be taking input from the user and I'll add it to it. That's what I do usually, right? Because we never work with hard-coded programs. We've always learned to make our programs interactive. So I'll say, okay, marks for student 1, marks for student 2, marks for student 3, and so on and so forth. And I'll keep adding it to a box or a list. And then at the end, maybe I'll do its average and maximum and minimum and so on. Again, if there is a function that is available, I had to get a list myself because I can't remember all function. So there is a max function, returns the largest item in the list. There is a min function, returns the largest. Length returns the number of elements and so on. So I'll use them. I'll just use them. Okay. And then, of course, I'll use some methods also. And you'll see the difference between what a method is and what a function is. Okay, so you've seen one length function. Okay, so that's the length function. Okay, let's make our program interactive. Let's ask the user marks of students, like some marks. You can decide, maybe stop while it is not equal to 0, right? Or you can say on -1. You can keep, I mean, there are so many ways you can do. So you'll say, I'll stop at -1. When the user gives a -1, I'll stop. Okay, so we know the for loop. Now the whole program, I haven't yet made it interactive, which I will, but because I'm just showing you how it is going on. So I'm going to take input marks of students from the list, and then I'm going to stop at -1. So remember how we kind of said, please input the marks of the students to exit, enter -1. Right, now you can make a check. The marks should be between 0 and 10. We can even do that. Like, there is no end to it. You can improve it, as I said, you can improve it to nth level. You'll say, oh, marks can be positive or negative. So you're not restricting it. You're saying to stop, put -1. But what if somebody puts -5? There are no negative marks. Sometimes you have negative marking, we know, in competitive exams, but we'll restrict it. I'll say the marks must lie between 0 and 10. Maybe it's an assignment. So we can do that too, okay? So what's my loop? I'll have to take the marks from the user first. So I'll take the marks from the user, and then I'll keep taking it till the user says, oh, whatever, right? Now, this is a very small function. I don't have to write a function for it, but because we've done functions, we'll write it. So I'm going to take a mark variable. I'm going to call a function called input mark from the user that takes no parameters. Does that make sense? Right? And once I have that mark, I'm now going to write my while loop. While this mark is not equal to -1. So we'll write input mark. I said it will take the mark from the user. So what does input mark do? It accepts a mark from the user. So we'll write a function because we've learned how to write functions. So while the mark is not equal to -1, what do you want to do? You want to keep appending it to a list. You want to add it to a list. So let's create a list. So let's create a list. We needn't do that here. We'll say and save it in a list. What would you like to call your list? A good name. Marks is not a bad name. How do I tell it it's a list? Here, create an empty list. So it tells the compiler or the interpreter, oh, I have a list here. Like you put a 0, it says, oh, that's an integer. You put 5.4 in a number, it says, oh, that's a float. You put Anju Chawla in a variable, it says that's a string. Now it says that's a list. So this is an empty list. So while marks is not equal to 0, what do you want to do? You want to take that mark that the user has given you and add it to your list. And here is an example of a method. With the marks data structure, also called an object, right? With the marks data structure, you're using a method called append. So methods are used with the name of the object. What is an object? You can think of object as an entity. Okay. So this, for your information, is kind of object oriented. This is basically object. That's the syntax. Dot the name of the method. So I'll kind of go so that you see the difference of how we call a method and how we call a function. In a function, when we used length, all I did was len. I used the function name and I gave the parameter in the list. But when you use a method name, you attach it to the name of the data structure. So the append is a method, as the name suggests, English word append, will add your mark, whatever you give it, at the end of the list. So you'll say, why end? Because that's what append means. If you don't want to use append, you want to insert it at a particular position, you can use the method insert. So you can say insert at position 0, insert at position 1, insert at position 2. But append is easy for us. We are taking marks and we are just adding it to the list. It doesn't matter whether it's sorted or not sorted. We'll sort it. I'll show you how to sort a list. No biggie. Okay. So now you have to learn these terminologies. So you wrote a function. How is a function different from a method? Logically, they have the same functionality. They do a job, right? Both of them are pieces of code that do a job. They take parameters. Both of them take parameters. Both of them return a value or return none. Then why are we learning two different things? Because old languages, procedural languages, had functions. So Python has functions. New languages, when we went from procedural programming to object-oriented programming, everything was attached to what am I working with. So it was called methods. So the functions remain in old languages and methods were piled on that old language. So therefore they exist. Right? In modern object-oriented languages, you will always use methods. So it's kind of this. This is what? So you can drive a car, you can reverse a car, you can turn left, you can turn right. So those are the methods that you can do with the car. So human programmers said that if methods are related to an object, why don't we club them together? Makes sense. Like, do you ever eat a car? No. So it makes no sense of writing a function eat and then you say eat and in the brackets you say car. So to avoid that confusion that functions are like generalized, functions are saying, I don't know who to work with, but now methods were attached to maybe strings, to lists, to all this. So that way, when you used a method, it made sense that, oh, this method can only be done with this kind of object. You can sit on a chair, you can roll a chair, you can move a chair, you can do all this, but you can't eat a chair or drink a chair. So therefore, we went from procedural programming to object-oriented programming because human beings think that way. But you said, oh, didn't they think about it? They weren't the human beings when programming started. Yeah, they were human beings, but remember, it was new. They were just starting programming. So the new programmers just wanted to automate. So when they automated, they kind of went that way. But naturally, they realized, oh, there's a better way of doing it. So we went to object-oriented programming. So in object-oriented programming, how it is different from procedural programming is this. The object, whatever you are working with, car, room, college, human being, chair, table, that's an object, right? Has all its related methods or functions together. Only you can only use it at them. And this has been created in a ball, encapsulated, and that becomes a class definition. Right? That's what object-oriented programming is. Not very difficult. It's just a different way of looking at it. Okay. So here what you're using is you're using a method called append. And this method can only work with a list. You can't say an integer variable dot append. You know what I mean? You can't use append with an integer or a float or a string. You can use it with a list. So Python was procedural language, they let it be. And then they kind of patched it. I mean, they didn't want to lose the language or just create a new language. So old languages have been patched with object-oriented plopped upon them. So therefore, they give you both kind of ways. Similarly, C++. The language was C. The normal language was C. It's a procedural language, more of a system language. And then they added object-oriented functionality to it. So they called it C++. Okay. Java started fresh as an object-oriented programming language. So it's absolutely object-oriented, but it has a little 1% of non-object-oriented in it, which you needn't bother with, but it has. Similarly, languages like C#, completely object-oriented. So new languages are completely object-oriented. The poor old languages stayed, but they had to have this. Otherwise, who would use them? You wouldn't be using it. So therefore, they kind of added object-oriented. So what you see here is an object-oriented way of invoking a method, a function. Instead of calling them functions, they started calling them methods. That's it, right? So, but we'll keep a difference. We call them methods when we do that. So what does this do? This will take whatever you give it. So you'll say, where do I have it? You have it here, right? How did you get it? We will write the input mark. And it appended it to your list. And then ask the user for the next one. Get the next one again. Call the function again. So you are writing a function. You are learning to write functions. You're still not learning to write methods because that's object-oriented. To write methods, it won't be any different, but you'll just have to package it a little differently. You'll have to give it a class name and so on. So in the long run, if you know how to write a function, methods are no different. It's just how you put them. Where do you put them? More important. Do you put them in a bag or do you put them in a different file and so on? Okay. So now let's write this input mark. Remember how I said I will usually write my functions at the top, though it's not necessary, but I just kind of like the idea of defining my functions at one place. And you tell me, what will you do in it? It's no different from writing a method. It's just where you are placing them. Okay, so what's the name of the function? We'll start with def. What did we call it? Input mark. Did it need any parameters? No. What will it do? It will ask the user for a number and return that number. That's it. But we want to ensure that that number is between 0 to 10 because the mark is out of 10. I mean, that's my assumption. You could say, oh, from 0 to 50, 0 to 100. You'll say, I don't care. It could be anything. Well, sure, don't care. Then it's just a list of numbers. But I'm just kind of making it a little more whatever. Okay, so what will you do? You will I'm taking a local variable mark here. Remember, this mark is local, has nothing to do with the mark there. Remember your local variables? It's just a local mark variable. I'm going to ask from the user, and marks can be floats. You can have 4.5, 5.5 and whatever, right? Take the input from the user. Please enter a mark between. Now, you'll say, can I just say 0 to 10 here? Yeah, you can say 0 to 10 here, but it is a good habit to kind of create constants for the 0 and 10 so that if you change your mind, 0 to 100, you don't have to change anything. And if I'm not mistaken, again, it's just because is constant turning into, okay. How to define constants in Python? You'll say what a constant is. I'll tell you what a constant is. There it is, define constants in Python. Let's see. How do I create Stack Overflow, coding style, variables, constants, and literals? Progmas is not a bad one. I've been looking at this website. It's not bad. I picked up something yesterday too. But let me look at it. Variable, constants, declaring variables is all okay. Changing value is all okay. Assigning is all okay. Constants. A constant is a type of variable, whatever. Oh, nothing much. Okay, it says in Python, constants are usually declared and assigned on a module. Here, the module means a new file containing variables, functions. Oh, it doesn't do anything much. There is no reserved word in front of it. They've all written it in caps. And this is a good one. This is a good site. You can even run your code and see. So they've created a new file and they've imported that constant. But then how is it any different from a variable? Constants are written in all capitals and underscores separating the word. That's just a kind of a convention. And again, they're saying usually it's a good idea to put it in a different file and then just kind of import it. Okay, not very different. Then I don't know. I'll have to double check. Okay, so at least we'll follow the rule. So I was hoping that I could put the word constant in front of it and it won't. So I'm going to call it lower limit and upper limit, or minimum mark and maximum mark, right? And they have said that use this notation, all caps and underscore. A constant is you'll say, how different is it from a variable? A value of a variable can be changed, but a constant value cannot be changed. And that's why there should be some way of saying that this is a so rules and naming conventions is what you can follow. See, so they're using Java naming conventions for variables, and they're using capital letters for a constant. Never use special symbols. Oh, so you can use both, whatever you like. But with capital letters, you can't use Java name, like you can't make the first letter capital. That's strange. I'll have to look into it. But the aim is that, so this is just a convention. I'll say a constant here, but the problem is, how does it know it's a constant? You know what I mean? I could change it to 5 and it will change, whereas a constant's value should not change. So I'll have to look a little more into it. I thought you could put a reserved word, but it isn't saying anything. So by virtue of what does it become a constant? Just, I don't understand. But anyway, so I'll say, please enter a mark between, and I won't write 0. I'll just say min mark. And notice why I have used the underscore, because they're all caps. So I can't use the Java naming convention like I did here. This is called the camel case naming convention. You separate your words. Instead of with underscore, you separate them by putting a capital letter in each new word. And the first word is small. This is called camel case naming convention. These guys are so loud, right? Close that door. Anybody familiar? Oh, thank you. Okay, so instead of saying between 0 and 10 or whatever, whenever you change your mind, I'll tell you the uses of a constant. I'll tell you the uses of a constant. One, readability, of course. It makes sense. Instead of using magic numbers of 0 and 10, you're using min mark and max mark, which makes more sense. Two, flexibility. Flexibility means if you are going to use this min mark and max mark many times in your code, you don't want to use 0, 10, 0, 10 that many times. You can give them names, and then you can use these names in your code. And if you want to change your mind, you make that change only at one place. So you don't have to look throughout the code to say, oh, where did I use the number 10? Now it becomes 100. And another advantage of a constant is that you cannot change it. Once you have given it a value, you cannot change it. That's what a constant is. But I fail to understand from what I'm seeing here, how are they kind of saying, oh, you cannot change it? How are they ensuring you cannot change it? Usually in languages, you write the word constant in front of it and you cannot change it. So I'll have to look into it because as I say, I don't find anything here. So therefore, when I had started typing, I was typing the word const in front of it. Remember how I started const? Usually languages will have const in front of it. That means you cannot change it. It cannot be changed. That's what it means. But Python doesn't seem to kind of say anything, so I'll have to dig into it. Okay. From what I read, I can't see anything. So readability, flexibility are two uses of naming constants. It has a name, it makes reading easy, makes more sense. Flexibility, you don't have to look in your code to say, oh, where do I change it? I change my mind. It's not from 0 to 100, it's from 10 to 50. I don't have to go looking. You'll say, oh, I can replace and find and replace. We don't think about finding and replacing. We think how we do it at one place. So I say, please input a mark between this and this. Now, what am I aiming? I'm saying the mark should be between 0 and this. So we'll write a while loop again and we'll keep on asking the user, right? So ask for the mark and now give me the while condition. So your number must lie between 0 to 10. So if your mark is less than 0 or your mark is greater than 10, I should stop. That's wrong. I should keep asking. So while it is less than 0 or greater than 10, I must keep on asking, right? So how do I ask? I'll say, oh, you made a mistake. Invalid input. And again say, it must be between 0 and 10. Make sense? So while it is less or greater than 10. So you're forcing the user to give you a mark between 0 and 10. You cannot come out of this function till you do it, right? So what am I going to say? I'm going to say print. I'm going to say invalid mark. And I'm going to add. I'm going to tell the reason what the problem is. It should be between this and this. So I'm telling them what the problem is. And you can say inclusive. You want to kind of, which makes sense. Because 0 between can be anything, right? I'll kind of add that here. Something doesn't look right. What doesn't look right? Invalid mark. Oh, I already was going on. I forgot to end it. And okay, copy and paste is not always good. Enter a mark between. I'll have to end it here. I have to show it here. Put a comma and. There it is. So I tell the user, always tell the user what's not right. Otherwise, the user has no clue what's going on. You can put them in different lines if you like, right? You can put them in different lines if you like. So you can say invalid mark and then again say enter a mark between this and this inclusive. Now, just to make it prettier, we'll put a colon here. We'll put a colon here. And now let me use that reserved word I was talking about, the separator. You can put them in different lines without writing two print statements. Okay, I'll do it in the break. I'll try it in the break. And once the job is done, what do you want to return? You want to return the mark. There's your input mark function. Clear? Oh, how silly. Ask for a mark. Check it is between 0 and 10. If it is not between 0 and 10, give a message and ask again. Oh God, okay, so invalid mark. I should have just taken this. Sorry guys. Comes to my head when I'm done. Here you can only say invalid mark, maybe there. Because you're again asking. You can kind of put exclamation marks to make it more whatever. Should be here. Thank you. One here. And another one. Oh, because I think I copied it. So somewhere here also. Yeah, another one here. Thank you. Remember why? Because I have an input. I have a float function and an input function, and I only had one bracket at the end. Okay, so let's look at the define function. So you can kind of, if you like, you can put a comment and we can, whenever our functions finish, we can kind of put a line so that we know our functions have finished. Okay, so I've taken two constants, min mark and max mark, for flexibility and readability, but I still don't know how to kind of make them a constant. And a constant means you cannot change its value in code. Once you have assigned it a value, you cannot change. It's not a variable. But to do that, I can't, on the top of my head, I can't see anything. So I'll have to think about it. Constants can be local. You can put them inside a program, inside a function, or if you like, you can just put them outside anywhere, like here. Nobody stops you. Usually constants are declared to be global because you may need it at more than one places. Right? Usually that's how you do it. It's not you'll say, but you said don't use global variables. But remember what I said about a constant. It never changes. Nobody can change it in code. So usually constants are declared at a global level so that all functions, everything can use it because nobody can change it. But now comes the big question that how can we impose that rule in Python, which I can't see on the run as I see it. So I will find out and let you know. I don't know. I can't even remember it because again, I haven't used Python for a while. So I was just using my Java. But anyway. Okay, so input mark is written, right? Input mark is ready. Constants are ready.
So it's not, if you scroll back up, your min mark and max mark are missing quotations around them.
Yeah, but oh yeah, okay, I see. Please
print the word min mark.
Yeah, thank you. I get it. I get what you are saying. There, comma. Are we okay now? Yeah. Okay, where else? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And Oh, double quote and single quote. Good. So you should see a mixture of green and black. Why? Because black means its value will be printed and green means it will be split out. So Ken got it. He said, you don't have quotes, so the word min mark will come on the screen. Of course, he's right. But I want to show the value of min mark. So what do? I close my quote. You can use plus if you like. Then if you use plus, you'll have to change it into a string. Now that's another way of me thinking, oh, it should be a number. You know what I mean? But that's again, it's up to you. Like whatever I'm reading, I'm still seeing pluses. I'm still seeing concatenation being used. But again, on the other side, I'm also seeing commas. So you should know both. I leave it to you. So let's come here. Here I'm saying, please input the marks of the students to exit. Actually, this message can go in the input mark now. Because you're not even printing it here. So take your print message from here, remove it from here, because this message is basically here. And we'll put it here. We are saying, please oh no, that was not it. Oops, no, it was the part of that, right? Control Z. It was fine. It was fine. And one more Control Z. Yeah, okay. Now see what I can do. Please input the marks of the students to exit and enter -1. And I can add this. I can add this message. Student mark, just for the heck of it, must be, and now I can show it. I can show the min mark here again. See, I made it a constant. It was a global constant, and I can do it. So here I'm using the word through, just because through means it is included. I hope you know that. If not, that's for your information. You know that names are case sensitive. Okay, so what have I done here? I've given a message, please enter the student marks of the students or mark of the students. To exit, enter -1. Student mark must be min mark to max mark. Make sense? So now again, I've used those constants. I didn't have to use 0 and 10 again. So that's, you've seen a use of a constant again. So I call the function. I put it in a it's just, this mark is global. That mark was local. Don't confuse it, right? Please, though they're called the same. Whenever something is returned, put it in a variable. Then while it is not equal to -1, keep on appending and ask for a new mark. At the end of the day, just so that, to show you that it works before I give you a break, I'm just going to print the list, the student marks, to see that it works. Right, just so that you know. And where are we placing it? In the list called marks. Let's see if this works. So what did I do? I made my program interactive. I'm going to please input the mark of the students. To exit, enter -1. Student mark must be, this message to exit -1 is okay. There we are restricting it between, oh, problem. There we are restricting it to 0 and 10. So it will never happen. It won't let me take a -1. Here is the biggest problem. I want the user to take it -1, which is not valid, but anyway, what do you do? Think about it. So please enter a mark between 0 and 10. And
marks greater than 0 or lesser than 10 and does not equal -1.
Yeah, but I want the user to enter a -1.
So or -1.
Yeah, so basically I have to change my message. So here, float, please enter a mark between this and this inclusive. Let's go through here again. See? Okay, so what do I want to say? To exit, enter -1, right? I'll put a Please enter a mark between this and this period. To exit, enter -1. Again, you can take that -1 to be a constant, okay? Okay, are we okay now? Yeah, so we'll have to take this again. And we'll have to kind of put it here. Because that's my stopping condition, right? So I have to let the user enter it. Okay, so now what are we saying here? Okay, so now our while will change, right? So where will be a while be now? So while the mark is, come on, indentation sometimes is irritating. While the mark is less than minus, oh, another problem. What if somebody gives minus 0.5? That's not a valid mark. See, so as soon as you start writing, you have to think of so many things. Somebody can give minus 0.75, and that's again not valid.
We can do 0.1, anything less than 0.1.
But we have to be very careful about this 0.1, guys. Floating point numbers are very, very scary. You could be thinking 0.1, but if you enter something, sometimes it's stored as 0.0000009, you know. So floating point numbers, comparisons with floating point numbers is a no-no. Okay, what else do? We have to think of something.
Just another or.
Yep, just another or. Just another or. But with that or is a big thing. Just another or will still let me enter. One of the conditions will be true.
Not equal -1. Same.
Yeah, but again, then I can enter a 0.5. Let's think. We can put a condition. We don't want to break. Okay, I can very easily take it, and if I say if it is -1, I don't want to do breaks and so on. So I want to impose that condition. So I'm saying please enter a mark between 0 and minus this. To exit, enter -1. So if while the mark is less than or greater than 10, keep on doing. Okay. That's one condition.
To me, it sounds like we can use the same condition that we use in the while on the bottom. Or mark not equal -1.
I'm just thinking or and. Because or and is always a thing to be understood, okay? Kind of taken care of. So -1. So while the mark is not -1, but the whole problem will still stay. 0.5 can be given.
So we can force it to be integers.
No, but that's not a solution. Like that's an easy solution, right? That's not the correct solution. I can use a flag, but again, so while mark is not -1, kind of, okay, let's try it. I want to do that. It really doesn't matter with the ors, but let me think. Am I doing the right thing? If the mark is not, suppose it is -1, the condition will become true. The whole condition becomes true. We are okay. Suppose it is not -1, but it is less than 0. And -1 is less than 0. The poor guy will be totally confused.
It would be and, not an or.
But if I do an and, let's think of this way. While mark is not equal to -1, suppose you give a -1. So that's true. And that condition becomes False.
False.
Right. Let's take the opposite. I give a mark between 0 and 10. Suppose I give a 0.5, that, or a minus 0.5. The second condition will become true and it will become false. Okay, should work. Let's try. And has higher priority. I don't have to put this in brackets. And has higher priority than or. So should work, but just putting it kind of says, oh, I'm trying to do this together, but it is not important at all. Let's try it. Let's look at all scenarios. You give a -1, the first condition becomes false, and the false, the and will become false. It will come out. That's what we want. Let's try to give a -0.5, which we were trying to avoid, right? -0.5. So mark is not equal to -1 is true. And what about the second condition? Is the mark less than 0? No, mark less than 0 is true. -0.5 is true. Mark is less than 0 is true. -0.5. And that becomes a true. True of anything is true. True and true will become a true. No, this won't work and won't work. And won't work. Think about -0.5. So what happens? Is mark not equal to -1? True. Right? Is mark less than 0? -0.5 is less than 0? True. So true and true will give you true. So that's also not working.
But the condition is the mark has to be good.
What about this one? Let's say. Okay, so mark is -1. If that's a -1, it will definitely stop. It's the other problems, -0.5. So it will still work. Okay, so the condition is not correct. Oh God. Okay.
Greater or less? Greater than 0. Sorry.
No,
Less
no.
than 0.
Keep on asking. While this condition is true, keep on doing it. My problem is that I want to stop at -1. That's my problem. Instead of asking the user more. And that's what is creating the problem. This will never allow me to take a -1. This loop will never allow me to take a -1. If I cannot take a -1, how will I make this loop stop? I can't make this loop stop ever. This will be an infinite loop. Input mark only allows me to take a mark between 0 and 10. I cannot give a -1. If I cannot give a -1, this loop will never stop.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm missing something. When I'm reading the loop as we wrote it prior, while mark does not equal -1, and mark is
Okay.
Greater than 0.
Okay, this is what we are saying, right? Let's take a -0.5. The user gives a -0.5.
But that would make it lesser than 0. Therefore, the second portion of n would be false.
So, no. This is an or. Okay, so 0.5 is less than 0.
Yeah.
This condition becomes true.
Well, your condition mark has to be greater than 0, right? That's what it says there.
No, it says while it is less than 0, keep on asking. Think about it. Okay.
Okay.
Right? So this becomes true. Mark is less than 0 becomes true. True or of anything is true. True and true is true. I'll still remain in the loop. Which is fine, right? I have to remain in the loop. -0.5, I must remain in the loop. So I am in the loop. With -0.5, I am in the loop.
So I think we should make the definition an if condition and put it.
Wait. I think we are good. Okay, wait. Let's try. Oh, unexpected indent. Where? Here. One back. Let's try. Oh, type error. Around where? Input expected at most 1 argument's got 5 of them. Okay. Now see what's happening here. In the input, it doesn't like the comma. Why? Because input says I take 1 message. So if it takes 1 message, you have to concatenate it. There is a use where you have to put a concatenation. The error was you cannot put commas here. Commas becomes more than one arguments. Input can only take one arguments. Good. Things come up, you learn. You cannot put a comma in input. Do you realize why? Plus means I'm just making the same sentence. Input only wants one input, one parameter. When you put commas, it says one parameter, second parameter, third parameter, fourth parameter, and so on. It says that's wrong. So in input, you will have to use a plus. And I'll have to put my blanks and everything. I'll have to make it neater myself, which is okay, no big deal, but you have to be careful. Okay, and then the through will also require a blank and will require a blank, and we are okay. And so you cannot do that. In inputs, you cannot use commas. In prints, you can, because print can take more than one arguments. See, so you live and learn. There, definitely we needed pluses here. So now, please enter a mark between this through this to stop exit -1. Let's hope we will. If not, then you can take a break and I'll work on it on the break and figure it out. And there was an input below also, was there? Okay, let's try it now. F5. Oh, I again have a problem. It still says must be a string, not an int. Where have I missed? But I've done pluses now. In the inside one, somewhere I've missed it. In the inside one, mark. Look at it. Inside one, please enter a mark, plus, plus. This was through, but that's okay. Where have I missed it? Plus.
We didn't turn them into strings.
Please. Oh God. God save me. So we are back to. Okay. See? Now we know why that print is so irritating, but whatever it is. Input doesn't take any more than one input, so we have to work it this way. Those are constants, yep. They are integer constants. Okay, now let's try it once more. We'll get an error, we'll do it again. We'll look at it again. Okay, so at least we don't have a syntax error. Now let's see if we have a logical error. Please input the mark of the student, I should say. To exit, enter -1. Student mark must be 0 through 10. Oh, this message is being repeated. Anyway, to exit, enter -1. No colons or nothing. Okay, what should I give? Let's try. So it should be between 0 and -2. Invalid mark should ask again. -0.5 should ask again. -1 should stop. Okay, works, right? Now we will run it again, but notice how some messages are untidy. -1, I should give a colon here. And this message, please input the mark of the students should to exit, enter -1. It's kind of repeating itself. So we'll just go back and see where are we repeating this message. Okay, where are we repeating this message? Okay, so the untidiness we'll have to take care of ourselves. We'll put a colon here and this here. We'll put a colon here and this here. Okay, the second message is coming from the down here, the while loop. And we don't need that message. Where was that message? Here, please input the mark of the students. We can kind of just stop it here. We can just stop it here. We don't need to say all this because we are saying that in our input mark. We don't want to see the messages again, right? Or we can just kind of go something like this. We can go something like this, and we can say student mark entry. You know what I mean? Like you're just saying that this is the mark entry. You don't want to see the messages again here. So here somewhere it will tell you that I'm doing student marks entry. Right? Let's try to see if it's now prettier. So we've checked a few things. Let's try it again. And I'll give you a break in 1 minute now, just to check. Okay. Student mark entry, please enter a mark between 0 through 10. To exit, enter -1. We've already checked -1 is working. We've already checked -0.5 or nothing will work. Now let's try to give proper values, right? So 0 is also not allowed. 0 is also not. Now let's give marks like 2, 2.5. It's kind of odd. Let's go 2.5, 5.75, 6, 8. Somebody got a 10 and a -1. Okay, so how many marks do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it doesn't matter how many we have, it will show. Enter. Oh, it's taken 0. 0, 2, 2.5, 5.75, 6, 8, and a 10. Why is it taking 5? Oh, 0 was allowed. Oops, 0 was allowed. 0 is a valid mark. 0 was allowed. So less than 0 is not allowed, greater than 10 is not allowed. So I gave a 0 and I gave a 10. These are called limit checks. I've checked the limits. Both limits are working. -1 is exiting. Less than oh, I didn't check more than 10, but I'm hoping it will do it. Less than 0. So I've taken my students' marks. There it is. Thank you for your patience. Right? So while we write things, we have to improve them. It looks it will work, but necessarily not. Right? And now you take a break and we will come back and do more with this list. We'll do more with this list. But you have an interactive list now, and you've seen a function called length, and you've seen a method called append. Append is adding everything. Okay? Error? What does it say? Min mark is not defined. Okay. So come back. So let's go up. Where do we find it? Okay, one. The first problem is min mark and the max mark are inside the function, and you're using it in the group. So take these two lines out and put it outside the function. Make sense? Remove that. Okay. Oh, you didn't it twice. There is a def input mark. Okay, remove that line. And then min mark and max mark have to function towards that line because they're not indented, right? They just belong to everything. So if you were inside this function, then use it. But if you were also using it, did you use it somewhere also? No, you said, okay, so let's go out. So some spelling mistake. Oh, you know what? Because you had it in two different functions. That's why. These are that's me. No. Yeah, what does it mean? You haven't got nothing. What did you call it? You called it input with a capital I M with a, and don't make this mistake. You just follow conventions. We'll start with a small letter, and then every word will become first letter. That's called passive input. Next, you do that. I small, right? And then again, here when you call it I small, what camel is camel, and that's called camel business. That's what. Okay, these intervals which and constants we just learned. These are conventions. Then you won't make mistakes, right?
There you go.
Okay, got you. What does it say? It's saying,
It
says, I only want one argument from you, but you are giving me two. So notice, see somewhere, you put a comma here. That comma, that makes it one argument, and comma means this is your second. Input function can only take one argument. That's the other I right?
Unfortunately, my PC got on and restart for many updates. If you will give us some more time,
You'll get more time, don't worry if I give one. I'm thinking of making a bigger assignment now and just letting you take it home and do it. Because as I said, I haven't marked the previous one. So I don't want to keep piling it. But this week I'll think of combination of functions and lists and something and give it to you. And that way you have a little more time. And I have a little more time marking it. Because exams are like the exam will be, and I have to mark the exam also, right? And the exams are not worth much. That's the main problem. Only 35% for the exam is not worth it. I don't know how they made it, but anyway. So I have to concentrate more on assignments. So better make bigger one because I have around 60, 61. It takes me a lot of time to mark it. So that's why I've kind of gone slow. I'm saying let me give bigger assignments rather than small assignments. Next week should be midterm. Yes. The total is 35%. So it really, I usually go my half off. I usually do half off. But if we cover less, like if we cover major topics, more topics in the second one, I'll make maybe 10, 20. I usually do the best in whatever is the best interest of the student. If they do well in the first exam, I give it more, like I give it equal. If they don't do so well in the first, I kind of give more to the final. Therefore, I don't ever tell what I'm giving. It depends on the assignment. Students have done well, why don't they get more? Right? Today, no. I still have to do a lot of things in list. I think even the list will go on till next week. But next week is exam week, so either I finish it. I don't think so. I'm thinking, that's why I'm thinking, give it shorter, do half of it because it's only 35% for both the exams. Midterm and final together is only 35%. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe a smaller exam. So I don't know. I haven't decided. Amar?
I mailed you for like if I come and manage how to.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So you come from Toronto?
Yeah, I'm from Brampton.
Yeah, but how will you manage? You're staying with some relatives?
Yeah, I've been managing it all. It's been second semester. It's going good. It's just that sometimes the right guy says I can make it. But in case I come late and you don't let me, so it's just a cover up. Okay? In case I get late.
So who do you take a ride with?
There are many students who come from Brampton.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I asked for a ride and I got a ride today, thankfully. So it's because you have any class assignments, others don't. That's why I've been managing this process.
So you just miss classes? Like you just...
No, I attend them.
Yeah, but you miss an hour. For example, if you come at 9, that you've missed an hour. So you're...
No, I come at 8.
So you do?
Sometimes because of the traffic, so we get half an hour late, and the parking is half an hour late, so we have to come walk over here. So it takes 1 hour. So that's why I just mailed you in case I.
So you don't park at the college?
No.
So what are these students are? These students are of the college, but they don't park in the college?
Yeah. I don't know why maybe parking is. I don't know what's the reason, but they park somewhere else. So I just wanted to make sure if I can come late, you could let me in. Because
usually I don't give an in-class right in the first hour, but sometimes like it does happen.
But that day you said if you're not here.
Yeah, because I don't want students getting in the class because I saw it. Somebody comes at 8:15, somebody at 8:30. Like that's not how it works, right? It's a class. If you have to come, be on time. Otherwise.
So I just wanted you to know.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Would that exam will be like these assignments?
I'm
Like,
thinking. Let me think, and then by the weekend I'll put something up for you. Let me think what I want to do, because it's only 35% for 2 exams.
Like the first assignment should be of 5%.
That was an easy one, right? That was an easy one. The first is 5. The second I'll do 10 because it had while and for.
Yeah.
Now the third one that I give, I want to make it bigger, so I'll make it maybe 20%. But total exams are 35%, which is so less. I don't know, like. So I don't want to waste 3 hours for 15%. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. I've never had 35% exams ever. Like we've always had 60% or 50%, which makes sense. Anyway, we'll see. And I have so much to do. Like I'm behind my schedule in my syllabus anyway. Like, I don't know how fast I can go.
Virtual communication after this. Because he's taking a very easy course and trying to make it a lot tougher than it needs to be.
You know, the power assignments from communication. You still can record. You know, it's correct. It's easy, but it's stupid, you know.
So, if you watch the whole video about privacy violations on social media, and you want to write 3 pages for privacy violations. Can I tell you something? And then next week. See, I did basic. Plain and simple.
For example, we have all five, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, but in ours, it's free.
Ah, open Bible.
Like,
I have to ask, like in exam, it will be related to the in-class assignment, in-class work that we have done. So if we have to practice, just we have to go through the in-class assignment.
Yeah, it will not be, it will be like them, but it won't be a question that you've already done. It will be something different,
It will be
right?
related to the in-class assignments that we have done, like both, or it will be
Anything that we do in class or to assignments, it's all, anything, any code, any coding, anything you've learned.
like the second assignment we did. It was like it was not like the one that we did in class, because there was some functions that we had to use.
But I wrote them in functions, so now you should know how to write functions also. You should know how to do anything we've done till class till date. Anything can come.
And which sites you can use during the exam, like
Only the documentation, nothing else.
like which we have in,
On your laptop, no other websites have it.
and also we have one book on the
Automate your boring stuff. That you can use if you like. There's not much in it, but sure you can. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they don't have many examples in it, is what I'm saying. But
like the cassette game was there as such.
oh yeah, the simple one was. Yeah, it wasn't very good, but just the simple.
Like the meeting will be related to that book, like something from that.
I won't even look at that book. I'll just make up my own question. Okay?
So it will be like the second class. Like the second one was not too lengthy, but it was.
But you didn't do functions in them. Right? So guess the game was in the, yeah, you're right, it was in the Automate the Boring Stuff book, right? Yeah. And I gave it as an assignment, right? I didn't even think of it.
Exactly the same, but they have done the exam.
Oh, right. I looked at it afterwards. I didn't even think of it. Yeah. Good to know. Now I can see if people cheated. Yeah, so maybe I'll have to make that less too. Yeah, I didn't think. I also looked at it afterwards. I didn't look at it because I'm just reading the book to see what's in the book. Like I'm not kind of following. I just need to see, I have to cover this topic. I have to cover this topic. So I'm reading it too. Like I read the first 5 chapters too. Now I have to read the next and so on.
Like for the assignments, we can take help from the internet, but we can't do the exact. We can make
Yeah. I mean, when you do your assignments, look out for help. There is no problem. But you can't copy code. Yeah. Not even 1%. You can't copy at all. Right? You can take help. There will be many guessing games on the web. There are many, right? But you don't copy and paste. You understand them and do that. Okay?
Well, the new one is online.
Really? Yeah, I like download it. Oh, no, not yet. Not yet.
Vault 67 is online.
Okay.
And it's going to be a builder. You're not going to have it will be on your screen the whole time. So when you're running over a target, it'll tell you what's supposed to go anywhere.
Oh, cool.
You better be using it with your mouse.
I don't know if I can get I don't like this kind of. I prefer like shooters. Like Counter Strike or Call of Duty.
There's more storage. Right? When you play shoot, you go in, you shoot for 3 hours, you go right out. When you play, there's
Like I
always
prefer online.
sometimes.
Like Counter Strike is online.
I don't play Counter-Strike.
Wow. It was also comfortable to play. Like, or PlayStation.
You get a remote.
Hell.
There are multi-method. You can even configure most games if they're also on console. You can configure console remote directly.
Should I have a console?
I'm trying to do a 4-player. I want the referee live. Somebody told me that here on my PS4. Via my own net.
So somebody to render it.
Yeah.
Well,
So you take your basically keyboard, you in the room, and you mirror, and you're running. Play anywhere I want. Because it has Bluetooth connection.
Ready, guys? It's got 20 minutes according to my watch. We started at 32 and it's 52. Can we start then? It's 10 to go? 10 more? No, I thought maybe I took, but I thought we finished at 31 or 32, 9:31, 32. I see people are missing. We'll wait another 3 minutes maybe, hopefully. I thought, therefore I try to see the watch, but you never know, right? I could be wrong. Yeah.
I noticed you only get marks for one writing assignment since I wasn't here for the second class writing assignment.
Yeah, you had gone to a wedding or something, right?
Just wondering, I noticed my mark was, I think it was 17.5, and there was no remark as to what can I improve in order to bump my mark up.
Did you check the rubric?
You gave us the class assignment, we had to make it work. I'm just going to check it.
Yeah, but there was a rubric. In the rubric, if you've lost marks, it will tell you why you lost marks.
So, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what we're referring to, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to bring mine.
I don't know how you guys see it, but let me see. Like, I know what. Yes, if you are going to a wedding, you could have taken you could have done it. Was it due that day or midnight or something that you were busy, right?
Yeah, I literally went that morning for the wedding and the following day I drove back. Programming, my grades. When I go over here, yeah, so.
View rubric? View rubric, yeah.
In rubric.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, so here are my comments. Why did you and where did you lose?
Okay, understood.
Right? So there is where you lost marks. So it says needs a well-defined purpose. That means your program didn't have incorrect. You're saying input to integers, but you're saying input float. So your comments are wrong. Right? So when you lose something, you're kind of jumping from 4 to 3 immediately. So I was thinking when I did this, I was thinking I'll kind of make something between complete and mostly complete almost, and then at least you won't lose a mark.
A full mark.
Yeah. So here, for example, there were spelling errors in your division and confusion modules division. I don't know what modules are. So the output messages were not good.
Understood.
Right? And the rest was all.
Okay, perfect.
Right? So every time in the rubric, you will see why you lost marks.
So watch out for my spelling errors.
And this one, of course, there was some. It was saying modules division answers, and there's nothing called modules. So I don't know what you meant. Maybe you meant modulus. And again, I've said use more English-like words. The remainder after division. So, but I didn't cut off marks if people still said modulus. But there is nothing called modules division.
Yeah, the way I spelled that. Understood.
Okay. Yeah, right. So it will always be there. But I was thinking I'll make another column which will kind of, when there are so silly mistakes, you don't lose. You don't go to the next one. You kind of go around 90%. Yeah. I'll do that for next onwards. So this was 5%. But if you had gone to the wedding, you should have taken.
There was the online lecture.
Yeah, but you should have asked for doing the assignment that I'll be back on whatever, and then once you pick it up, I could have given you, I think, what did I give to the class? 2 hours? I forget. Guys, in your second assignment, you had to finish the assignment in class, or did you take it home till midnight? Yeah, so they had the option, right? So you could always have asked, and I could have, I assumed you would, that's why you are telling me, and you will do the assignment the next day. I never thought you didn't do it.
Yeah, I just didn't have time to do it at all, right? Like, literally went to that wedding.
Yeah, but the next day when you came back, or the day after, you could have said, Anju, can I take, like,
Fair enough.
That's what I thought. I mean, that's what I thought you were telling me, and you were kind of saying, can I do the in-class assignment? Why don't you just, I haven't marked it yet. No, I haven't. Why don't you just do it today and submit it by midnight?
Okay.
Because you had a valid reason and you really told me beforehand, right? Yeah. So whenever there's something like this, as long as it is valid, I'm assuming that you're telling me because you want to do the in-class assignment. Yeah. That's the reason. So I didn't even check whether you've done it. You know what I mean? Like I haven't even checked it. So do it today and submit it by tonight. The only problem is you attended the class on, the solution is already on Blackboard now, because we started with a normal guessing game and then I changed them into functions.
Okay.
That's the problem now. I've already done the solution. You know what I mean? Like I've already done it.
I haven't checked it, but I understand.
You didn't attend that class? Like last week when we did functions?
I took all the codes actually from one of my.
No, last week you were here, weren't you?
Yeah, last week.
So last week I did game guessing by in functions. I've already done that.
Yeah.
The assignment was writing the guessing game without functions.
Understood.
And now I've already done it in class. You know what I mean? Like I've already done it.
Yeah.
So you haven't, you know the solution.
Yeah.
So maybe.
It's okay.
It's okay. Maybe.
It's my own
yeah, I just thought you would do it. Like that's why you were telling me. I didn't even think you wouldn't do it. So maybe in future, let's see if I get something else and I'll say just do this and you can replace it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll work
Thank
that
you.
way. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get going. People can join us. So what I've done here is I'm going to show you a few functions and methods so that you get the knack of it, right? So I made the program interactive. I used a while loop, which you should know how to use. I've used functions, which you should know how to use. So anything that you've done till date today in class is all included in your midterm. Now, the only thing I'm thinking is this. Shall I take the midterm before or after the, if I want to do more in my lists and I want to keep up and not break it, I may just do it and say, oh, the midterm will happen after the reading week. I could even do that. You know what after the reading week, yeah. Even that could be done. There is no big deal in it. There's no rule which says it has to be done before the reading week. There's no rule at all, right? So I'm thinking I want to finish off my list, but we'll see about it. Okay, so here let's move forward, guys. Let me do and try to do as much as I can. Again, I can't do everything, but I try my best to kind of get you thinking about it. So we just wrote a loop in which we were saying, oh, -12 value is causing its problems, but -0.5 should also be not be allowed. So whenever you try to do something, it will take a little time, but that's okay. You know what I mean? And while conditions are always, even now I have to think about them. Do I use an and, or then I kind of put the limits, then I try to take an intermediate value, and that's how it works. It will always be there unless you really are brilliantly working in your mind. Okay, so here what I've done is instead, so it was working. I showed you the list was there. I've changed the messages a little. I've said there are these many students in class. Here is the list of marks and I have printed those marks. Now, a few things for you. I said, let's see what the class average is, right? Now, you know that the class average is what? Total up all the marks and divide by the total number of students. So we can do it very, very easily. Let's try it. Let's do it and use functions and do it. Okay, so let's print the class. And again, we'll kind of make a pretty thing in between. It's always a good idea to write things neatly. Believe me. Okay, so there are these many students in the class. Here is the list of marks. I mean, you could have shown the list in just like a square bracket. I kind of gave it in one line again to show you a for loop. Then I'll say the class average is, you can again, as you see, you can use double or single quotes. I don't know why I've just started using double quotes for the, I just don't know. Now see, something very neat. What is the class average? The class average is total number of, the total of marks divided by number of students. So, and after that we'll talk about something. Okay, so I'll close it, I'll close it. So what do I want to do? I want to add everything. There is a function called sum, as easy as that. There is a function called sum. Take it and divide it by the length of your marks. Average done. Didn't have to do anything at all. As simple as that, didn't have to do anything at all. See, so I've used functions. So these are functions. So therefore, that sum, when I declared that variable sum, notice how it was purple, because it was a reserved word. It was a function. Again, I would avoid using reserved words in code. So I've used sum here. See, therefore it was purple. So I'll just call it some numbers. You don't have to change it, but I don't want to get into the habit of using reserved words. Not all languages allow it. I just changed the some numbers to some numbers. So here is the average. The class average is this. As easy as this. How easy is that? Right? You can show the maximum mark also here. Let's try that. Oops. Here. You can even show the maximum mark in the class by simply saying the maximum mark is and as simple as there is a max function there, as easy as this. See, therefore we say that use the library. There's a reason why we tell you to Google. Right? So if something is already available and you can use it, why not? You can even show the minimum mark. And use the function there, min. Life is so easy if you know how to use the functions. You can actually, just for the heck of it, just so that I'm showing it to you. So you can, what else can I show you? We've done length, we've done, I'll show you something. We've done sum, we've done length, and so on. I'm going to show you more functions. Because the whole thing is you should know how to use them. Okay, so this kind of takes care that you've shown your output, right? Now, if you want to sort the list, oh, let me show you something else also. That's also interesting. So you can show that these many students got a 0. So count of your min mark. See, my constant min mark is again coming handy. I'm counting how many people got 0. So you can say these many students got 0. So count it and then put a comma and then start. Students got, and again, notice the flexibility. I am not writing magic numbers anywhere in my code. Do you kind of see the use of it? You declared one constant min mark and you've used it 10 times already in code. Now from min mark, if you wanted to go from 0 to 1, how many places do you have to make the change? 1. That's what is called flexibility. Find and replace is not flexibility. Find and replace is what we do in, like, common man does it. Programmers don't do those things. So always name your constants. Something that you will use over and over again without changing in your code, make it a constant. The only thing is I'm baffled that how is it, like, how will it know it is a constant is my big thing. Maybe all uppercase, I don't know. I'll try and see. So these many students. So what does the count function do? Count is looking for counting the number of zeros. So these many students got 0. Right? Do you want to see how many students got the maximum mark? What do you count? Count the how many students got the maximum mark. And guys, grammatically correct English and proper sentences are necessary in your code. Over and over again, there will be marks for comments, outputs, how easy or simple they are to understand. So I'll say these many students or student, I don't know, it could be a single student also, got 0. These many students got 10. In our case, it will be 10. Right? In our case, it will be 10. And then we said the class average is this. Let me show you sort the list. Now, there are two ways of sorting the list. One, I can use a function. And a function, it returns. It returns a new sorted list. So you have to understand how to use it, which means that it returns something. So you can call it sorted list, sorted marks. And you can call the function is called sorted on marks. Here, use a function that returns a new sorted list. So I'm using a function. I'll show you another way of doing it. How do you know the answer is correct? Print it. I'll just kind of, I'm getting lazy here because I mean, it's not necessary to, you can use a while for loop here. That's one way of sorting it. So you have to create a new one. The function says, if you read a function, it will tell you. The function says return a new sorted list. So I did that. Okay. Now there is a method also that is available. And see the advantage. How do you call a method? This method sorts in place. So all you have to do is marks, sort yourself. And the marks list gets sorted. So the function returns a sorted list. So you have to save it somewhere and that's sorted. When you use the method sort, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong in the name, but I don't think I am. It will do it in automatically. So it is sorted and put back in marks itself. That means you can print the marks. There. So how easy it is, believe it or not. 35 years back, we had to write all this code ourselves. There was no sorting, no searching, nothing, no count, nothing. We all had to do it through loops and everything. But now the library is so rich. Why would we do it? But that means you should know how to do it. At least how to use the function. You want to clear the list? Sure, clear the list. You can delete the whole list if you want, or you can just clear it. So there's a difference. Clear will remove all the elements, and there is another function which actually deletes the list. I can't, as I said, I can't remember all of them, but I forget. But anyway, let's do clear all items. So if I was running this program over and over again, I would clear it and then ask the new list again. You see what I mean? I can put it in a loop now. So let's do it. So clear all marks for next go. So how do you clear it? Clear is a method. So marks, clear yourself. Right? Do you want to see that it works? Let's see if it works. The list is now empty. Here. So this will come handy if I'm making the program run more than once. More than one means this while loop where you started. Where did you start? Where you started asking for marks. The previous ones were all easy. But when you started asking for marks, here student mark entry. I can make this program, I can make this part interactive. You can keep asking for more list. How will you make it interactive? Think of something. Do you have another list kind of stuff? Right? And you can make it interactive. So it's only working once now, but to make it interactive, all I'll have to do is I'll have to use a flag, give it a Y, or I'm still sticking with Y and small y's. The exit will come for you. Maybe in the exam. Be careful, guys. I'm only checking small y's and capital Y's, but you can check with anything. So maybe there is a function called lower that converts everything into lower, and then you can compare it with exit. Maybe there is a function called upper, and you can convert it input all to upper and do it. So if you want to run this code many times, input from the user marks of students and save it in a list, we can do it. It's no big deal. So you can say continue, take a variable continue. Oops, continue looks to be a reserved word, and it is, right? So what should we do? Confirm. Let's take confirm. Give it a value of Y. And while confirm, or you can use a flag. Nobody stops you. You can make it false or true. Yes, Ken?
So I was trying to basically get the min mark
and max mark
are not global variables, so it doesn't read them.
Okay, give me a minute. Let me just indent this. So I'm just kind of putting this in a loop and then I'll come back. So I'm taking the value confirm to be Y, and while confirm is equal to Y, or confirm is equal to capital Y, my code will go on, right? So again, I'm sticking with Y. And then I'll ask the user, do you want to go on? Just give me 1 minute. Let me just complete this because then my indentation will cause problems. So this is the end of 1. And then you can ask the user again. You can say confirm. And you can say input. Another set of marks. And then you can tell in the bracket Y or capital Y. Let the user give you this. And as long as it is Y or capital Y, it will go on. Any other input will stop it. So if yes, it will go on. If not, so you can kind of say any other input will exit. See? Process. We'll say process because maybe I'll write more after this. You can kind of ask this, And there you go, and there you go. So you clear everything before you start again. Make sense? You will be clearing the list, clear all marks for the new set of marks. This was just to show you that it was empty. Okay, now to answer Ken's question. You're getting a problem where? With the min function?
Well, just on the print where we're doing count.
Where we are doing count.
We're counting the min mark and max mark.
Yeah.
They're not global variables.
No, I made them global variables.
Oh.
They're out of every function. I did it right at before I started even. I changed my mind. I said constants are usually good to be placed at global level. Why? Because you never know where you will need them. And they're constant, so they're safe. Why do we make variables local? Why do we try to keep things locally so that nobody can change them? You know what I mean? That's why we make things local. We make variables local so that they have a limited scope, a defined scope, so that some other function does not mess with it. But I took my constants and I placed them outside any code, so they are global in nature. I can use them wherever I like. In any function in the main body, right? Let's see how it is going. I don't know how it will go. We just added a few things, but I want to show invalid syntax. Oh, the equality. Another equal. So while the confirm is y or a y, keep on going. Okay, let's try it. Invalid. Oh no, the invalid syntax was not here. It was here. Okay, what is the equal in Python? 1 or 2? 2, I think, right? Control S. Let's try. Missing parenthesis. Did you mean print I? See, it kind of came. You are missing your parenthesis. Small errors, but we should know how to invalid syntax. Why? Why is it invalid syntax, guys?
You don't have the.
Oh, comma is missing.
Yeah, comma.
Thank you.
Same thing for the line down.
Yep, thank you. Invalid. Oh, one more. Copy and paste is never a good idea. One more. Let's try it again. Okay, now something else. Unsupported operand type. Oh, I changed the name. Remember I said I'm not going to use reserved words. So I changed my sum to sum numbers. I changed the name of my variable. If you didn't, you don't have to bother. I changed it. Because I don't like using reserved words. It's okay in Python, but in the long run, it's not okay in all other languages. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, started, right? So we know it is working. Okay, so student mark entry, please enter a mark between 0 through 10. To exit, enter -1. So I'll try -11. Remember, I didn't try it last time. So -11 is an invalid mark. -5 is an invalid mark. Otherwise, everything else is valid. So let's enter a 0, 0.5, 2.5. Let's enter another 0. Let's give a student 10. Let's give another student 10 so that the counting is right. Another 10, 4, 7. Give on, really. It's not us. We're not doing it manually, but we'll have to check our answers manually. Okay, let's exit. Okay, so we have a problem somewhere. Count is not defined. Why is not defined? We'll look at it. I'm almost positive because it's a method. Now I know why it's not defined. Don't worry about it. I know the problem. Here is the list of students. There are 11 students in class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Answer is right? Right. Okay, the maximum mark in the class is 10. Yes, it is 10. The minimum mark in the class is 0. Yes, it is 0. But it didn't give me the average because look at the error. Count is not defined, which means I have not used it properly, which means count is not a function. It is a method. And that's what irritates me because you have, when you're doing a language that has both, you have to be careful. Okay, where did we use count? Okay, here. So count has to be used with, I thought, what was that function called where it could count how many people got this? That's strange. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. That's, of course I'm wrong. Otherwise, why would it say? It's a method. So marks.count. and marks.count. So there is a function called count, but it's not a function, it's a method. So I have to say marks.count and marks.count. Do you think I've used count again somewhere? No, let's save it. So you will get errors when you do it. All you have to do is rectify them, right? It comes with, it's just there. Even if you have programmed for years, you will make mistakes. And as I said, I'm doing Python after 5 years, I think. I just work in Java and C# is what I work in. So I will make mistakes and it's not a big deal. Nothing is a big deal as at the end of the day, you know what you're doing. Okay, now I'll be okay, okay? So I'll go 1 and 2 and 3. Shoot, too early. Okay, let's try F5. Enter the marks 0 through 10. So let's enter a 0. Let's enter a 6, a 5, a 5.5, a 7, a 10, another 0, another 10, another 10 so that we can count, a 3, and let's exit. Okay, so there are 10 students in class. Here is the list of marks. So I'm hoping that's right. Shh, guys, please don't talk. The maximum class in the maximum mark in the class is 10 and the minimum mark in the class is 0. Fine, answers are correct. There are 2 students who got 0 and there are 3 students who got 0. Notice how much space I have between got and 0 because I'm in the habit of leaving a blank and the comma doesn't need it. So it puts an extra blank. The class average is 5.65. I leave it to you to check answers. I'm hoping they're right, right? The marks in sorted order. Do you notice the sorted order? They're both in sorted order, but they're 2 different. In one, I used a function and in the other, I used a method. And then it says another set of marks, Y or Y, any other input will exit the marks entry. If I say Y again, it will continue. Student marks entry is, the list is now empty was for, just to show you that it became empty. And don't forget to clear it. Otherwise, what will happen? Previous marks plus new marks will get into the list. So clearing the list is important. So again, you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Let's go -1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maximum is 5, minimum is 1. 0 students got a 0, 0 got 10. Oops, there I have to say maximum marks. So the message is wrong. The class average is 3, which we know is 3. 3 plus 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15, 2, 17, 1, 19. Why am I getting a 3.0? 5 and 4 is a 9. 9 and 3 is a 12. 12 and 2 is a 14. Yeah, it's fine. The marks in sorted order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another set of numbers, no, and the program stops. Easy, easy, breezy, nothing to be done. Except that one message is wrong. So let's go back. And where we said the count got max mark here, this was a wrong message. There. So all you had to do was use functions. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't know how to write the function. You should still know how to write the function. Okay. Now, did you get enough of list? Now let us look at a few more things of list. So we'll stop that entry at this. And now let me show you some more. What is not working? This sum is not working?
Yeah.
The class average is coming wrong?
It's just not functioning, so I'm trying my way around it.
Does it have an answer? Does it give an error?
It's giving an error.
Okay, so it's giving an error then.
So we can try doing it the rest of the
No, no. Let's see. The error is a type error. Int object is not calling. Okay, so let's see. So what are we calling it? We are calling it marks. Let's look at your marks. Where did you initialize it and where did you do it? Okay, so marks is a list. You take a mark, you append the marks, you take a mark. Okay, so 4 for I in a mark. There is where your count is. So, no, that's printed. Okay, so the count is also wrong. You get that error. Remember, count is a method. So marks.count is what you're doing. But the problem is coming in some class average is some Oh, the problem is in the class language. Okay, there it is. Always start with the capital. Please see. Class average is sum by sum. It says int object is not always. Oh, I know what is happening. Wow. Where we did this sum. Remember we had a local variable. That's what it was. It's using that local variable. That's why I said don't use this. Right. Okay, here. Let me tell you something, guys, that Ken is having a problem with. I'm not sure if you guys are having a problem with it, or even if you're trying it. He's getting an error right here. And it is saying something about an int. Now, sum is a function. It's a valid function, and it is saying int is something. It's talking about an int. And what I did was, if you remember, I don't know how many of you are copying me. I had used a variable called sum here. It was called sum is equal to 0. I had created a local variable sum. When I created a local variable sum, and when you are trying to use the function sum, it got confused. So therefore, I said, do not use local variable, do not use reserved words. So I changed it without even thinking it. Ken didn't change it, so he's getting an error. So I changed my sum to some numbers. I did it even before running my code, because I thought, you know what? As I said, I'm a programmer. I don't use reserved words. Every programming language has, would you call a variable if? No, because it has a meaning. So there was already a function called sum I used as a normal integer. And when you do that and you try to do this, definitely you will get an error. Because what are you trying to do? You're trying to do something with the int sum, right? And the next thing I was telling Ken is this. Count is a method. It's not a function. I got that error when I was running it. So please write marks.count. Okay? Are we clear about this? So we've learned quite a bit. Let's move forward. Anybody else? There, what does it say? Something must be small or big. Try to read the error. What does it say? Okay, you've got to close your print statement here. Right? Okay, so when you use a variable, don't put it in brackets. It's not required. It's about the reason. Don't put your min marks and max. Here you have to put them in brackets because you're calling them. But here you don't have to. Yeah, I've seen that too. Some students do this. I don't know why, which is okay. There's nothing wrong in it, but it's very confusing. See, you don't have to put your variable names in brackets. You don't have to do this. I've seen it in assignment 1. You put the name of your variable also in brackets. This will very quickly come back to you when we do tuples. It will create problems in tuples. So you don't have to. I don't know. If it makes it easy for you, sure, go ahead. Then please remember that you're doing it. Variable names is having to put in brackets unless you're calling it in a function or something. Okay? Anybody else who's doing and having syntax problems still here till date? Are we okay? Can we move forward? Okay, because I want to do a few more things. Okay, so let's now do a few more things that I was talking about. So I was in a while loop, and I'll come back to my beginning here. So come back to column number 1. I was in the while loop. Do you want to continue another set of numbers and so on? What I also want to tell you is, again, there are many methods, guys. I did the append. There is also extend. There is also slice and remove and so on and so forth. So I want to show you a few. It's not the end of the world, but what do I do? Like, there's no end of showing you. Let me show you something else. Like, I haven't done it at all. A list can have another list inside it. Lists can be nested. Okay, lists can be nested. Oh, I don't know why it goes here. Okay, let's take another example of a list, which is a nested list, okay? It's like, I don't know if you guys have done math for sure, I'm hoping. Like a matrix, right? You have rows and you have columns. So you can create a nested list of numbers like that. I mean, it could be anything, but you can create a nested list. So inside a list, you can have a list like this. A list, or you could have just like normally also, like you can have normal numbers also. Something like this. Let me confuse you a little, okay? Now I am sticking to numbers. So maybe this student, maybe this is the name of the student. And these are his or her marks in 2 assignments. So what have I created? I have created a list called nested list, or you can call it name and marks list, where there is a list inside a list. Okay, before going that, let me show you a few things without confusing you. There's no end. So I'll just take 2 minus 3, 5, 7. Okay. Now, if I want to insert an element, so let me just do printing, okay? Let me just do a printing so that you can see it. This is the only way you can learn, by doing it. Okay, so let's print the list. Just print the list. Okay, let's just print it. Now let's try to do a few things on it. Okay, so that I can show you what's happening. We already know count. We've already done sort. Oh, there is a sort. There is also a reverse. Now that it comes to me, the marks in sorted order is this. You can also reverse it. You can reverse it also. You can take any list and reverse it. There is a method called reverse. So again, the manual is something that will help you, okay? And I don't know all of them. This will give you in descending order. So sorted does it in ascending order, reverse does it in descending order. Anyway, just because it was coming in my head, let's come back. Sorry to trouble you or to confuse you. Here, let's do a few things with the list. So I've created a numbers list, 2, minus 3, 5, and 7. I can print each element. So I've printed the whole list for you. I'm now going to, I can print any element I like. For example, I'll say first element, just to show you, nothing else. Now, how will you print the first element? You take the list, numbers, and show the 0th element. This is how you can print the first element. The first element is always at position 0, right? If I want to print the last element, now this is a strange one. So keep in mind, 0 is called an index. So you're using an index. Should be an integer. To access a element. You may not be interested in the whole list. You may be only interested in the first, 4th, 5th, whatever, right? There is something which is very odd, but it can be done. You can access the last element, and give me a minute of how I do it. I think you say -1. From the right hand side, it's -1, -2, -3, -1. This is not present in all languages. It's not. You can also slice your list. And there are variations, right? So how do you slice a list? Slice means take a part of the list out. So maybe you're interested in the first 2 elements, or the second and the third element, or second, third, fourth element, or whatever, right? The slicing is done. Give me a minute because I'll have to look at it because I haven't. Okay, there it is. So how do you slice the list? Print. We'll call it slicing, right? So suppose you're interested in the first 3 elements, or first 2 elements. So this is how you slice it. Oops, sorry, double and single quotes. You take you're not changing your list. You're taking your list numbers. Okay, so I want to slice the first 2 elements. Where do I want to start? At the 0th position, right? And I think it's a colon if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Okay, so you're starting at the 0th position. And what do you want to do? You want to say first 2 elements. So you say 2. So it will go 0, 1, and it will stop at 1. It stops at 1 less than the upper limit. Keep that in mind. Okay. So it stops at, so again, make a note. Starts at 0, stops at 1 less than 2. That's how it goes. That's the rule. If you forget the first limit, you can just write it this way. Again, I'm just showing you ways, okay? Let's say elements 1 and 2. You want elements 1 and 2. Okay, so how do I slice it? Where do I begin? 1, right? And how many? Let's do 1, 2, and 3. Just to give you a different perspective of it. So slice it. Start at 1 and go on till 4. You can't go beyond 4 anyway. Oh, 0, 1, 2, 3. You can't go beyond 3 anyway. So 4 will stop at 3. If you try to give something wrong, it will blow up. You will get a syntax error. Okay? You'll say, I mean, so this is just showing you different things. Okay, let's do another slicing. You'll say, what kind of slicing is this? This slicing is at least all elements. You'll say, I could have done that without the slice. Yes, you could have. But I'm just showing you that you can leave the first and the last empty, just like it like this. That's also slicing. No over, no upper. There's another way. So the slicing can be done in many ways, okay? You can leave the first one alone. You don't have to put the 0. You can just give the second. There. You can do this. So guys, you all have to learn of doing different things. It's just slicing, nothing else. But the function is there. So let's do, we want to start with the, element 2 till the end. So what will you do? You will say, I want to start with the second element. I want to go till end. I don't know what the end is. There it is. Right? Or you can do the same thing if you like. You can leave it empty if you like. Or you can do the same thing by doing what? By going till length. Because length of numbers tells you how many and you'll stop at 1 less. That's slicing. But you've learned something. You've learned that you can index it. So you can look at the first element, the second element, the third element, the fourth element. Of course, if you try to do something like this, it should blow up. So if you want to say invalid element, I mean, it will blow up anyway. Can I say numbers 5? Can I say numbers 4? Nope, I cannot. Because the indexing starts from 0. Indexing is 0, 1, 2, 3. So how can you print numbers 4? It will give you an error. It should give you an error. But I don't know. We'll try. So let's try a few things. And then we'll come to the listed one. Let's look at slicing. Okay. So let's save it. Let's look for our errors. Okay. So I'll give a -1. I'm not interested in this part at all now. Okay. Maximum mark in the class. That was working fine. Oh, good. Okay, good. Good that the error has come up, which I thought I would mention. Can you find, but why is it giving in maximum? I don't understand, but that's okay. If the list is empty, in which it was, in my case, it says I can't do anything on your list. How are you asking for maximum mark and minimum mark or counting or even averaging? How can you divide by 0? The list is empty. So I was expecting an error here, but the error is coming here. It doesn't even work on an empty list. It doesn't even work on an empty list. So what should you do? Once you take the list, see, this is what was coming. It told me that you have 0 students in class. And it says, here is the list of marks, and it is empty. And then I'm saying, give me the max. And it says, I can do max on an empty sequence. I can do it. I can do functions. You're telling me to do a function and the list does not exist. So what should you do? What should you do before you call max and min and count and sum and so on? You've learned it. What should you do? Check if it's empty. If it is not empty, do it. If it is empty, don't do anything. So after you've done this, there are length students in class. Before you even show the list, do a if here. Check if the list is empty. Else give a message to the user. So if the list is empty, how will you check if the list is empty? If the length is 0. I'm glad it came up because I was only thinking about average, but it's not even nothing. None of the functions are working, and average definitely will blow up dividing by 0. Division by 0. Have you ever heard of division by 0? We human beings says it's infinity, but division by 0 is an error. But it's not even working on max or min. You can it's
If length greater than 0, do
all this, yes. Or you can do this. We can say if length of marks is equal to 0, always a good idea to tell the user that the list is empty. Instead of saying list, there no students' marks were entered. We won't say list, we'll say no student marks were entered. That's a better English message. You know what I mean? Like always try to keep it else, go with else. And put it here. Now, what do you want to do in else? All this has to be done in else that we did. Come on, I don't want that. So all this till where? Oh, even the sorted marks will not work. I'm not sure, but I don't know whether sorted marks will also work or not work.
Well, we're trying to run a program aspect, right?
Okay, so let's all indent all this code. There. Now I have checked. Now I am okay. If the length is 0, no student marks were entered, else here is the list of marks, here is the maximum, here is the minimum, here is the average, here is the sorted list, here is the reverse list, and so on and so forth. Right? And then a print statement so that I can print a big line after that. And then ask the user again, clear the list. We can kind of remove this because this was just to show you that it works. And then go on. Okay, so let's try that again. Oh God, what did I forget? Oh, my bad. No marks were entered. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, now I say -1. My list is empty. Where are we? We are not even here. -1. My list is empty. I'm good now. It says another set of marks. No, I don't want another set of marks. Now I have an error. What is the error? List index out of range, the one that I was showing you. You can't ask for 4 because 4 is not available. You'll say, but there are 4 elements. But remember, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So 4 is not available. Make sense? So -1 is also not available. So you cannot use. So that was an error. I was showing you that error, thankfully. You cannot do this. You cannot go out of range. So you cannot say, give me the invalid element. This is invalid. And also this is invalid. You can't go -1. Oh, you can. Oh, sorry, this is Python. You can go from the negative side. You can. I take back my words. You can't go beyond. This is invalid. Let's try it once more. And let's show you the slicing now. Okay, -1 to exit. No, I don't want to go on. Okay, now let's look at the list, the slicing. 2, -3, 5, 7. The first element is 2. I got it with 1. 0th. I got this with -1, the last element. The first 2 elements are 2 and -3 with the slicing. Elements 1, 2, and 3, -3, 5, and 7. Slicing all elements without putting anything before colon, without putting anything after colon. The first 2 elements, I didn't put a 0. The last till the end, I didn't put a 4 at the end. And I have an error. And the error is what? Length is not defined because the function is called len, not length. So you make a mistake, it will catch you. Okay, -1. Sometimes it becomes irritating. But okay. Too fast. Okay, F5. Okay, -1 to stop. No to no go. See, there are 0 students in class, no student marks were entered. So nothing shows up. If I give something, it will work. It will again work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1 to stop. Everything works, right? The maximum marks, the minimum, got 0, class average, in ascending order, in descending order. This was the new one I added. This sorted function automatically gives in ascending order. We can't do anything about it, but the method does. No, I don't want to give any more. I'm good, thank you. And here is the slicing. So you know how to pick up an element, you know how to slice. And that's not the end of it. Let's try more. I know I only have 5 minutes. So what I'm trying to tell you, that there is no end. Like I could go on forever, and we know that this does in ascending order. So I've kind of changed my message. Okay, we were talking about lists inside lists. Now tell me, how would you access each element? This is your first element, the whole list, and this is your second element. Okay, for your information. Let's print them. So let's print it. Let's print the nested list. So again, I'll do a print here so that it's a nested list. I'll take this, and I'll do nested. And now notice, how do I access each element? Okay, what will this print? The whole nested list. Now I want to print the first element. Okay, so I'm going to say print. Please keep in mind, the first element, I'm still saying the first element. But what is your first element? Your first element itself is a list, but you will still say nested list. Give me your first element, which is 0. Okay, I want to print the second element. I'll say second element and it will show me Anju. No big deal. But now, what if you were interested in 10 and 9? That's one whole thing. That's one whole thing. So what can you do? You can do this. You can say print the first element of the first list. Okay, so now when you do this, what do you want? 0, and what you want again? 0. So from these, so just let me double check. Is it 2 brackets or is it 1 bracket, or syntax wise? That's all I'm doing. Okay, we'll get an error. I can't find it wherever, but we'll get an error if we don't. So what does it do? It says pick up the 0th element, which is 10, 9, and give me the 0th element from 10, 9. So it should print a 10 if the syntax is right. We'll say -1 here and we'll say a no here. So it's fine. So the syntax is 2 square brackets. Make sense? So when the elements are nested, then this is your first element and this is your second element. You could actually use a for loop. Let's use, what was that called? Sum numbers, right? Let's take that sum numbers again and initialize it back to 0. And notice this now. For I in, and what is it called? Nested list and 0. This is a list again. Nested list 0 is a list. What will I do? I take that sum numbers and add them. What should I get as answer? 10 and 9, 19. My blanks are extra because I put extra. Okay, guys, it's just as I said, my habit. Grammatically, there. It should give me 19, 10, and 9. Notice how I can use it in a for loop. What's the big deal? It's a list of numbers. Right? Let's try it. We'll give a -1, not interested, not interested. There it is, 19. And I repeat again. I haven't covered all functions and all methods of lists. I've done slicing, I've shown you index, I've shown you some nested, but then there is insert, there is delete. You could delete an element at a particular position, or I can say delete 10 and it will remove 10. I can say delete 0 and it will remove the element at 0. So you just use different functions. One is called remove and one is called delete. Delete wants the index value and remove wants the element. You can clear the list. You can delete part of the list. So you'll say delete elements 2, 3, 4 using slicing and delete. It's all available. Right? So a class can never finish it off. You know what I mean? Like I can do everything and anything. But you have to know everything and anything. So if I've done append with you and I tell you in the exam to do extend, you should know how to do it. If I do delete with you, you should know how to do remove. You know what I mean? Like methods are available. The list is there. All you have to do is read it. So for example, what I did yesterday, I was going through it and I was looking for it. I got a list on somewhere on that site I was telling you. All I did was I made a copy. These are the methods that are available. They're so easy. Look at their names. Append, to add an element. Extend, add all elements from one list to another. I can do that. I can also use the concatenation plus to do it. Insert, remove, pop, clear. There's no end. There is actually no end, believe me. Right? So, as I was mentioning to a couple of students here, I'm not giving small assignments now because it takes a lot of time to mark them. What I'm now deciding is, for the rest of the semester, I'll kind of do 2-3 topics together. I've done functions, I've done lists. This is new, right? I'll kind of make an assignment that checks both of them. And I just realized, somebody mentioned it to me, right? They said the guessing game that I had given at assignment 2, of course it's present on the web. It is. You could have found solutions, I'm sure. It is actually also in your Automate the Boring Stuff book, and I didn't know about it. Right? But at the end of the day, if any of you have copied it from anywhere on the internet, which can be found out, because we have tools, that's what we are supposed to do. Please remember that's counted as cheating or plagiarism. So when you do your code, you can take help and ideas from wherever you like. When you code it, you don't copy code. You don't copy and paste. Copying and pasting and just changing a variable name is still copying and pasting. And everybody knows that, right? You copy a work and all you do is change a variable name. That's still copying and pasting. So if your code is copied from somewhere, especially in assignment 2, that was my mistake. Sorry, I didn't realize that it was in the book itself. I mean, of course, it will be on the web at many places. I mean, guessing game is a guessing game. There is no big deal about it. But if I see that it has been copied, and all we do is there's a software, you pass it through it, and it catches it. Right? So half of our time is also wasted in that, which I wish couldn't be, but we have to do it as a part of a job. So if any of you have done this, so just as a friendly warning, if any of you have done this in your assignment 2, before I mark it, you can send me an email and you can say, I take back my assignment. And we will let it go. Okay, but for other students whom I have called today for assignment 1 plagiarism issues, please see, come and see me if you are present in this class. I'm not naming anybody. It's just if you have an email from me, please come and see me. Okay, I'm in my office from 11 to 12 now. Any questions for me? I'm in my office. Okay, about the exam, by tomorrow definitely I'll put something on Blackboard for you. I'm thinking what to do. With 35%, there's not much to do, but still we have to do it. This program will go on Blackboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for helping around as I make mistakes, because it's nice to have more than a couple of eyes looking at stuff. So point out mistakes so that I know you're learning from it, okay? Yes.
Actually, I didn't get any marks for the assignment
Why?
because
What's your name?
Prabhu Singh. Actually, it was a mistake that you have done like first classes, but after that you removed my name.
Oh, okay. Send me an email. Please send me an email. Otherwise, I'll forget again. Send me an email that can you give me my marks because I was excluded from places. Yeah. I remember now. You came to my office. Yeah. Please email me. Okay. Don't forget. Email me. Otherwise, I'll forget. Guys, you can discuss classwork after class. I know you're learning from each other, but while I'm teaching, it would be nice if you can concentrate on me, right? Because it disturbs me. And when you talk, I can hear you. Like you were talking today.
Yeah.
Why would you be talking?
We were discussing like the error in the program. But
Call me.
But you was like teaching, and that's why I don't disturb you. So I just want to ask, ma'am, you are going to put any talks for the midterm we have next week?
The docs you all when you installed your Python,
Yep.
those you should have got them with Python. So if you go on your start menu and look for Python, you should see this Python manuals.
Yep.
Or Python here. So just click on it, and those are your documents.
Sorry to interrupt you. Well, everything we get in the on the midterm, everything will be from here.
This is just a help menu. It's something like you forgot and you have to look up. Everything will be from what I've taught till today.
Okay, ma'am. For example, in the assignment 2, you have put a different code for us to solve, but we have not solved it in the class. So,
Which code? Come again?
like guessing random
Guessing
one,
game?
random one.
The guessing game that we did last week.
Yeah.
There was some small problem that was occurring and the class was finishing off. So I just completed it afterwards and put it.
Okay, ma'am.
I was doing it in
That's
class, but I had a small error. Something was coming up.
Okay,
And the
but,
time was up. So I just rectified it and put it back on
But
Blackboard.
it was fine with both while and
There was a problem in that lower limit and upper limit thing.
Okay.
So I rectified it and your program is up on Blackboard. I've already rectified it and I put
Okay,
it.
ma'am. Everything will be from these commands which we have done.
Yes, everything that you've learned till date, fors and whiles and if and all this is from
Like
here.
the list you was teaching today, for that list we have to learn all these commands.
You don't
how
have to
use
learn them. They're just easy, right? You can look up the manual. The manual will tell you can do all this with this.
I mean to say we have to go through each command.
Not necessarily before. When you in the exam, you can look it up.
Okay, we can.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
we
in the
can-
documentation, right?
Correct.
So if I go to documentation, if I go to my manuals, right? And I'm looking for something list function, right? Suppose you're looking for append.
Yep.
Oh, so let's look for list. So here is all that list. Everything about list is here.
Yep.
So suppose I want to say here. So it's telling me more on list. So here it says what is append, what is extend, what is insert. It tells me everything. Right? See, it says add an item to the end of the list. So it's telling you what append does. It's telling you what clear does, what index does. It's all here. And there are examples also.
Okay, ma'am. Can I ask what does the A here means? Like I have seen the A. Like
Length of A is a list of A is a list.
oh,
Equivalent to A, length of A, and so on. So it's
okay.
telling you how
We
you can
can-
do it through slicing
Okay,
also.
we can name a mark list a name like.
I've called it
whatever
marks list, but
A.
they've called A, which is very odd. I wouldn't go with names like A, B, C, and so on.
We can give it a list 1 or list 2.
But can't you think of better ones? Like, see, this was a fruit, so they've called it fruits.
Okay.
Mine was a mark list, so I called it marks list. Think of better names, right?
Okay.
It's better to think of names that make more sense rather than A, B, C. We usually use I, E, J, K in a for loop. There it is okay because we are just counting.
Okay.
There it is okay. But otherwise, notice how everything has been kind of given a good name.
Okay.
So you should get into that habit of doing it.
Yep.
See here, so vector, vec for vector.
Yep.
So I would use names which are good. Like matrix is called matrix.
Okay.
So why would you call it ABC?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, So think of good names. So I called it Marks list because it was a good name. I thought it was easy to understand,
Okay.
right? You could have called it
Okay. We have
whatever.
to look for a word like that.
That kind of
struck the mind. That
yes, that
the
tells you
person-
what it contains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's usually how it is, right?
Yeah.
So when I hear cat, I know what a cat is. Animal, right? If I say animal, if I say human being, I exactly know. So those
Yeah.
words are helping us understand it.
Okay.
So when you use names that are meaningful in your code, it kind of helps me understand them.
Okay.
You're not the only person who's writing and using that program. Many people will work with you in a team.
Yeah.
So everybody must understand each other. Therefore, we follow conventions. All constants were written in all capital letters, so that you also understand it's a constant and I also understand it's a constant.
Okay.
So programmers must understand each other. Why? Because programmers work together.
Okay.
Not a single person writes software. You
Yeah.
always work in
Yeah.
groups. So we follow conventions so that in our program everybody does it the same way. We are following the camel case convention. We name all our variables the same way. First letter small and then the first letter of every other word is
Okay.
capital.
Okay.
So these are conventions. These are rules, right?
Yeah. I also want to ask about the marking scheme.
Mhm.
For example, if we done one code wrong in the assignment, so it will be deducted on the basis of the how many codes we are.
Usually the rule is the program should run. If the program is not running and it stops, I'm not going to see what went wrong after that. Till wherever it is running, I'll give you marks.
Okay.
Right? So this is running good, this is running good. It stops here. Now I'm not seeing what's after that. I'm not going to read your code. Where did you go wrong? Because that's your job, right?
Okay, mean to say, for example, in the in-class assignment we do on the blackboard like some errors comes by mistake.
Yeah, rectify them, change them.
Okay, so then you will mark after it.
But your program, when you submit your program, it should be error free. I should not have any errors.
Okay, mean to say we can make it error free by
Like I
copying
do?
it, paste.
No, like I make changes. Suppose I make a mistake here in a program.
Yeah.
Let's open this program. I had made a mistake. I forget to, just for the heck of it, I forget to put this T,
Yeah.
right? I save it. I run it. So something is running. I give you marks for whatever is running.
Yeah.
And then I get an error. I'll give you marks till here. Whatever runs. I don't know what went wrong after that. You made a mistake. So there should be no syntax errors.
We should be careful. We should have to careful from the first, from
Exactly.
the starting.
Starting till end, the whole thing should run. How can you say, oh, my car doesn't have gas and I can use it?
Yeah.
Same thing. It doesn't have gas. I don't know what's happening. So I don't want to go into your program, make it work and then give you marks. You know what I mean? I'll mark till here, whatever you tell me till here. After this, your program stopped working. I'm not marking it. So when you give me your program, you make it a point that everything has been done correctly.
After then, if I make it correct.
That's fine. Now submit this program.
Okay, so we have to work it.
You keep working on it till you get it perfect. Then give me the perfect program.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
If you don't understand something or if you can't do something, don't do it. It's better that you don't do it and there are no errors. Do the rest.
Yep.
But don't do something wrong, because as soon as something is wrong, I'm not going to look at code after that. I'm not reading code. I'm looking for output.
Okay.
Right? So till wherever I see output, I'll keep giving you marks. Stop. After that, even if something is correct, I don't care because it stopped working for me.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. The same thing was happening with me in the assignment too. I was just running, but sometimes the error comes out.
Yeah, so there was something wrong that.
Yep.
So you give me an error-free program.
Okay.
You have enough time. You have till midnight. You can do it 10 times. Like I have 3 hours. I try to make changes. You make changes and then do it, right? Depends upon how much time you have.
Okay.
So now in an exam, you have limited time. So you should be able to finish it in that limited time. If something is giving an error and you can't figure it out, comment it out. Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it. It's better to give me a running program rather than a program that has errors in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there are 5 things to do, you cannot do 3. Do 1, 2, 4, and 5. Don't do the third one. You can figure out, leave it alone.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. I will take care.
Yeah, take care,
Thank you.
okay? You're welcome.
Okay.
Yes.
I talked about you like my file was in
Oh yes. Now the only thing I found was, who's the guy who sits next to you? Who's the name I asked?
Jaswinder.
Jaswinder.
Yeah.
Is your code and Jaswinder's code?
No, not at all. At that day,
Whose code does your match? Because when I opened your file and I was marking it, I have to look for it now because
Okay.
I have 61 programs. Somebody else has exactly done the same thing. Spelling mistakes, everything. So I have to look for it on it.
Spelling mistakes too.
To comments, sometimes even the comments are same. That's how I find out people have cheated, right?
How could that be worse?
Were you in class or was it? Did you take it home? Was it
No.
midnight or in class?
It was in class.
Okay, so while in class, were you sitting with somebody?
I was sitting there, and everybody else was sitting there, this side.
So did you discuss it with somebody?
No, not at all. I
Was it
doing
well? Do you think your screen, somebody was able to see your
no,
screen?
No one. I was sitting alone. at
Because
that
I
time.
have gone through it. I did mark it, and I said, oh, I've seen that before, and that's what is the biggest problem. Then I have to keep looking for, and that's what I waste half of my time in. It's too much work. So I've marked it. It was perfectly correct. There was nothing wrong in it,
Okay.
right? But now I'm seeing, oh, I have seen this before, which means I'll have to pass your program and all the rest 61 programs through again to see, oh, whose program does it match. So you were on this table on this side, right?
That table over that side.
But there was nobody
Nobody
beside
sitting-
you?
No.
Nobody could have seen your screen?
No, I was sitting alone. I remembered, and it was my first in class, and I was sitting on that chair, and rest of the students were this side, and I was doing mine one.
I just thought that it matched, and because you sit with Jaswinder most of the times?
Yeah, I sit with
Jaswinder.
But at that day, Jaswinder was sitting there, and I was sitting there.
Okay, so my only thought was maybe it was Jaswinder's, but I haven't double checked. I don't know.
Okay.
Right? So give me some time.
Okay, sure.
I have marked it. I'll give you your marks just this time.
Yeah.
But
sure.
after this, not again.
Yeah.
If it's an empty file, it's an empty file. And you had also modified your file. So I don't even know whether you did the assignment before or
No,
after.
but after that, at the date which was modified, at that date, I just rechecked my
Yeah,
file.
but how would I know?
Yeah, I know.
How would I know? If everybody was honest, the world would be easy. But not everybody is honest. And because some people are not honest, I have to behave the same way with everybody.
I can understand.
Right? So I'm not saying you are dishonest, but I don't know whether you are honest. Because see, there are eight cheating cases in assignment one itself.
Okay, yeah, but I promised this was first and last time. I did
Yeah,
that.
so you have to, and
Yeah, I
if
will
things
do that.
happen, sometimes Blackboard misbehave, something happen, don't change your file. Don't touch it ever till you have your marks.
Okay. Yeah.
Once you have your marks and you see something is wrong, then you tell me, oh, this is what happened. I don't know what happened. Then you can show me your laptop. I can see the last modified date,
Okay.
and I can give you a chance. But at this time, I've given you a chance, even without the last modified date being same.
Yeah, it was first and last time.
Yeah, so just be careful. I've marked it, but I'm only waiting to see where did I see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? You're welcome. Give me an email after a week again if I forget.
Okay, sure.
Yes, I have to leave and go to my office, but yes, go ahead. Come.
Hey, I got a mail from you.
Okay, who's it? Who's who?
Stephen George.
And?
Arjun.
Okay, Arjun and Stephen George. Both your programs are absolutely the same. How come?
Actually, he was in present the class.
Okay. So,
And when he called me so that he want to know what you took. So I went to him and we kind of did the program together.
okay, now was it a together program?
No, but he wasn't having that much of idea about it.
But that's okay. If he's not present in class, he anyway gets a 0. It was an in-class assignment anyway. He can't submit it.
Okay.
If you're not present in class, you can submit it, right? So you've missed a class, you're asking help from your friend to explain what's going on. That's perfectly fine. You can teach him whatever.
And,
But you did it together and your assignments are same, which is
not that kind of together, but
He just had me to do.
But I can show you the printouts. They're the same. How will I know unless I see something?
I just told him he want to know the logic behind the program, and that's why I just wrote it for him,
This is the first
Okay,
time
now
I-
you even wrote it for him. So
Like,
what else now?
explaining it exactly.
So that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. So this is what is going to happen now. I'm going to fill up a form for both of you because it's plagiarism, right? This form will be it will be signed by you, by me. You can appeal it if you like. Sure, you can appeal it. But I was helping him, I was writing it.
Yeah.
But you can, it's your right, right? This form gets signed if this is your first attempt.
Yeah.
Before this, if you've done anything in your first semester or in any other course, then this becomes your second attempt,
Oops.
right? Which means it's a 0 in the course. If it's your first attempt, it's a 0 in the assignment. If it is your third attempt, you're out of the college.
Okay.
Okay, so now in your first semester, you already had a problem?
We didn't do it actually intentionally, but
I know
No.
you didn't do it intentionally, but to me, it came as the same thing.
but can you show me which all things came? Show
Yeah,
me,
sure.
if you don't
But I have to
mind?
go to my office because I have the students also, I've called them there, right?
Okay,
So I'll have to go to my office
you'll
and
come
we'll
out
sit
there.
there. Yeah, you just come out there. Give me 2
Okay.
minutes,
Yeah.
5 minutes, and then you can come out there, okay?
Okay, cool.
Because I've called other students, so I can't sit here and they wait for me there. Okay, so give me 10 minutes and I'll be in my office, okay?
Okay, cool.
And then I can show you what I mean. And then you can explain, but your explanation is very obvious that if he was not in class and you were explaining it and you were writing it and explaining,
Yeah,
that's
he
what
just
happened.
asked me the logic, and that's when I.
But you're not telling logics of assignments. You can't do that, Stephen. You can't.
Yeah, I know.
It's an
but
assignment.
Unfortunately, what he did, I don't know which ones.
You can't do it. How can you do it? Like, it's your work. You're explaining things to him. That's perfectly fine. But explaining assignments means assignments get copied. Whatever you explained to him, he exactly kind of, it came out to the same thing.
Like
It
the
did.
exact copy as mine.
Almost. It's a copy, I think. Almost a
Oh,
copy.
really?
Yeah, you ask him. He's your friend, right? He
Yeah.
should know better. But you can ask him what happened and then go from there. That's what happened. So what is your first name? George. No. How did you submit it?
George.
George. Okay, so no, that's Kevin George. There should be another George. So did you submit it by Stephen or by George?
Let me see.
Okay, so Stephen George is how you submitted it. Okay, so let's open it in TextPad. I really have to go to my office. Okay, and what's your name? Arjun.
Arjun.
Did you submit it with your name?
Yeah.
So there is Arjun. The best way would be to take a printout and you can match. Oh, where did the other one go? Okay, so here is George and here is, okay, so the only difference I see is the name of variables, but anyway, and a little comments. Okay, so accept 2 numbers from the user, accepting 2 numbers from the user. Okay, that's okay. Num1 becomes num2, num1 becomes num2. The first number, no change in messages at all. Okay,
yeah.
Right? Performing arithmetic addition. Okay, to perform. So notice how just the to perform arithmetic addition. But anyway, sum is equal to number plus 1. Now the same way, because I think you were teaching him how you had extra print statements. He also had, or you also had, whoever had extra print statements,
Yeah,
which is
more
fine.
beautiful.
To make it more pretty. But
Yeah.
the thing became not only pretty. The thing became a copy of each other. And the only difference I can see is maybe a variable name or a comment here or there.
Okay.
So notice everything remains the same. All you do is performing arithmetic division to perform. That's the only kind of small things I see. Otherwise, even your messages are same.
Yeah. See that.
Like even the messages are same. Now, how difficult is it to kind of change variable names? Not difficult at all.
It's easy.
It's easy. And even the sequence is same. How you do it. You could have done, I'm saying it, somebody could have done arithmetic, like even your sequence is same.
Yeah.
Even your messages are same. The power of this to this.
I see that now.
And not only that, if I pass it through a program, even your spacing will be same. If there is a 1 blank here, there will be a 1 blank here. If there is a blank here, there will be a blank here. Like it's absolutely the same. Like that's cheating.
Can't copy.
That's a copy.
Yeah, I see that now. I'm sorry.
So that's what it is.
Okay,
And you can do that. Right? An individual assignment means I see, like I look at something, I mark it again, I know I've seen it before. And I have nothing against you. I don't know who you are. But when I see one and I see again, I know I've seen it. And the only difference was you had 2 print statements, he had 1 single. But even the comments are same, even the sequence is same, even your messages are same. No 2 people in the class will have the same messages, the same comments. It cannot happen. 2 human beings are not the same.
Exactly.
But here, this is what I have. So I'll do paperwork, you will sign it, I'll sign it. The dean signs it, it goes into the registrar's office for records. Nobody else sees it. Nobody else. Not Rita, not your co-op, nobody. But if you do it again, and there is already a paper in the registrar's office, it becomes a 0 in the course. You do it a third time, there are 2 papers in the registrar's office, you're out of the college.
Okay. So it's valid only for this semester, right?
No, for your all 3 years in the college, all 2 years in the college. You don't have to do cheating in the college. All courses throughout your stay in the college.
Okay.
So the first thing I'll do is I'll fill up the form, and then I'll have to find out, do you have a case before from the registrar's office?
No, not yet.
But I mean, I have to do it myself, right? If there is, I'll give you a 0 in the course and you're out of the course.
Oops.
If it is your first one, there is no record in the registrar's office, you get a 0 and it stops there. Don't do it again. Ever.
Saying means that we can't do that again, like don't put it in the registrar's office?
I have to do it because I am answerable to my dean.
Yeah.
It's my job. It's like saying, oh, I don't teach a class. You know what I mean? It's my job. The only advantage is you don't do it again and there is nobody who knows about it.
Okay.
It's nowhere in your records except in the registrar's office, because we need to know if you've done it again and again and again. So somebody has to keep a record, right? So if I don't keep a record, the English teacher doesn't keep a record, and so on, then you can keep on doing cheating the whole 2 years you are here.
Yeah.
So we have to keep a record. But if this is your first attempt, then you are safe. You only get a 0 in this, and which is 5%, and we can leave it alone.
5%.
But whatever it is, that's what you did, that's what you pay for, right?
Sorry for that.
You should be careful. You can't do that. Like you're writing code for him. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. In the exam, it can't happen. This is an educational institute. It's cheating. It's absolute cheating. So you can appeal for it, and you can say, oh no, but 0, don't give me 0. But that's the minimum penalty. It's a minimum penalty that I can give you, a 0 in the assignment. Okay, so I'm going to my office, I'm filling up some forms, you will come and sign it. I'll double check to see if you've done this before, and then it goes to the dean, he signs it, and they go in the registrar's office in a file. When you leave the college, they're shredded and thrown. Nobody knows about it. Okay, nobody but you. But please be honest. This is dishonesty. I don't know, I don't think nobody teaches us that, right?
I didn't mean it actually.
But
I was like writing it and explaining it to me.
You see, don't you? I mean, even your empty
know
print
that,
statements, even your empty print statements
You
are
got
the
the
same.
point. I know.
Like, I mean, that's what kind
I
of
can't even
footwear.
appeal.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I say, I don't know who these guys, who shoot.